Easy.
Well, that's what I was just asking. They just snip
They
it.
just snip it.
I mean, that's our goal. Move it on, get it out there. Get used.
Well, I like something today.
I'm going in a week from today. I just feel like I'm counting. I should get silly me. I'm not sitting on my jacket. I always like fun have summer.
Think everybody's here.
That's all right. I feel better now.
You ready? We'll call this meeting to order. Welcome all of you attending. First item is the approval of the agenda.
I'd like to add a couple of things. I sent everybody, it's a grant application guide. I'd like for us to kind of discuss that, if it's something we should go over. Also, I sent an investment tracker sheet just for FYI. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at that. I think, oh, and then the other thing is, I think we need to also discuss as far as claiming the funds, if it's full county loss of revenue for easier reporting or not. I think we need to confirm that. That's all I have.
So do I have a motion and a second to modify?
Where are we putting them on the agenda?
That's a good question because we're going to go through the whole
Right.
timeline. And
Probably should do it before that, right?
yes, I would think
How about
maybe.
3 and 4? Is that okay, Tara?
Oh, yeah.
We make those items 3 and 4?
And then you're going to just move down 3 and 4?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the application that I used as the example was the ones we're going to accept this evening.
So 3 is the guide, 4 is the, I'm sorry.
Tracker. The tracker.
No, I thought it was the council thing. Is that, which one is
Oh,
it?
I'm sorry.
Which one is the,
The investment tracker,
oh, is that what you wanted to add? Not
No.
not about the council?
just a quick discussion on that.
Okay, so that would be 5.
That would be 5.
And then how do you want to do the reporting? Were you doing that too?
I think that was 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
Reporting.
5, the reporting.
Yep, that's the tracker.
Okay, then I've got tracker down for 4. What's that?
Yeah.
If it's
Okay, so, sorry, let's do this real quick. 1, approval agenda.
Yeah.
2 is acceptance of applications.
Yep.
3 is the guide. 4 is the tracker,
Yep.
which is the investment tracker.
Yep.
5 is the, around the rule of putting it in the council's general fund
Mhm.
for accounting purposes.
The reporting,
Is the reporting
Okay.
purposes?
And then 6 is established timeline, and 7 is public comments.
correct.
And I so motion, that's the agenda.
second.
And I'll second. No one else did.
Tom already did share.
Oh,
You're
okay.
slow.
Sorry.
You can't hear Tom,
He's
still
got a
Russell in
short
his-
voice
Russell in
tonight.
his, Russell in his throat.
Did
Oh.
Tom second?
Tom
Second
seconded it.
Tom.
He was kind of quiet about it, but he seconded it. We don't want to use all his strength up on a second, though. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0. Okay, let's open the discussion on, I guess everybody's had an opportunity to look at the different
And I'm sorry I
applications.
didn't get to get this to everybody sooner. I didn't realize the meeting was as
Can
close
can
as
we
it
speak
was.
up could we speak up a little? I can't hear from down there.
There were a couple of guides that I found doing some research when I went on to NACO's website as well as just from other communities, and there was one that stuck out where they did an application guide for the applicants, which I think is a great idea. It explains not only the process, the program, but the backing of it, of what the eligible uses are, which this stuff is on the website, of course. But more importantly, it gives everybody a better perspective of just where the money came from and what it's allowed to do. And then it talks about our community engagement And basically, Randy, and I sent you the survey results that we had. A lot of this information came from there. And the summary that I did previously, and I don't know if you have the, will you pass this to him? This is from a previous meeting. I can resend that to everybody. That was just, you do have it? Oh, okay. Well, can I have that back? I didn't know if you made a copy of that one. Okay, so I think it's good to show the community as well as the applicants of why we're choosing the grants, the type of applications that we are to serve what the core focus areas are. Page 5. So we get into this and we talk about who may apply. All of this information came from when Luke Thomas and myself worked on, as far as the applications, to determine the eligibility, the compliance, and the examples of ineligible uses. So when you go on to the next page, what I did was I took the final version, the final draft from the Community Foundation. The first one was nonprofit. And I basically kind of used boxes to explain why we need this information. And I did that for all 3 types of the application.
Useless. That part of it is. Yeah.
I know it's like drinking water through a fire hose. It's a lot of information, but and I would greatly appreciate if you guys could kind of go through it, even at your own leisure if you need to, and add like any kind of revisions or comments on these. I mean, I was just coming up with them on my own, so feedback is greatly appreciated.
Okay, so let's give some feedback. So page 2 through page 4,
Yep.
strike it.
Well,
Why do we need that? If we're trying to get to the nitty gritty, why make them go through 3 pages
True.
of federal stuff before they get to our stuff?
well, and a lot of this can stay on this can be on the website, but I think it's important to have the application when it opens, when it closes, the review process. I think the timeline,
That timeline's fine. I'm just talking about
all the other, yeah,
I agree.
Page
I
2,
think it's
page-
just
Okay.
too much verbiage.
okay, that's fine,
Yeah,
that's
2,
fine.
3, and 4 are just really restating the federal and
Okay.
what we're getting and all that. You could maybe put it in the back as an appendix,
Okay,
but I would jump right into, here's the timeline and here's who may apply. That's what I would
Okay.
do.
I like the timeline, that's.
Yeah, timeline's great. Yeah,
Can we
I'm
just
sorry, I
make
didn't mean
this
to, I didn't mean to
separate
strike
and
it.
be on the
Website?
website, like a link to?
That'd be great.
you know,
Yeah.
More information about the source of funding.
Yeah,
And
okay,
if we are going to include the survey, I think that in all fairness and transparency, we need to include the small number of people that responded to the survey. Because I don't want people to think that this was a survey of the entire county. It did, but I want them to know how many people responded.
right,
yeah, nowhere,
That would help.
yeah.
there's no count on there,
Just,
right?
right.
Yeah.
There's no count at all.
Sorry.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we're representing the survey as
Sure.
what it was.
And I don't know if you guys, I know I sent it out, it's been a while back, but it was a fact sheet that I created. I think if you guys, and I don't have it printed, if you guys have time to review that at your leisure, that's something else we could put on the website.
Yeah.
So,
The only other item that, I'll just finish mine off, because the only other item that I got is on, so the very first one, so you get done with that, you get to page 5, and then it starts into this nonprofit one, talking about the actual, where you put the boxes and stuff, which by the way is great. I think that's cool. There's just a misspelling.
Where?
Under finances on page 2, it says this if evidence.
Greg, call me out in public, come on, man.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm here, might as well catch it. Other than that, you didn't spell anything wrong, so there you go. There's a 99% success rate, right?
This was on the 11th hour, literally, so.
And I'm dyslexic, so I do it all the time.
I don't know, what was
Page
spelled
is
wrong?
that, Greg?
What page, Greg?
Page 2, page 2 of the nonprofit financial assistance,
Oh, this
finance
is.
section.
It should be
on
this
her guide.
is.
Yeah, it says
Just
this
is.
is.
That's
This
it.
is.
That was it. That was the only structure.
Right.
thing
Hey,
I
no,
had.
thanks for the catch.
So
Thanks
that
for
was
the
it.
catch.
I think these boxes are gonna be, those
Great.
boxes with explanations are gonna answer so many questions.
Yeah, I hope. But again, I really would like for you guys to look at those and see if maybe we need to add or take out or,
I thought it was great.
okay.
I mean, I read through the whole thing. I thought
You
it was
did?
too.
Oh, thank
I
you.
read through it as well.
Okay.
On the certificate of
And I missed that
existence,
air.
Yeah.
business entity report, right?
Where we at? on that?
Well, it's on page 1 of all of them, the certificate of existence. Can we call it, or somewhere in there, call it the business entity report? I think that that's what most, I'm familiar.
I'm
with
sorry,
it. You're fine. On page 1 of all the applications, the certificate of existence, can we clarify, that's a business entity report, right?
I think that's what, yes. So I need to make
It
another
is.
box there.
It would be for the nonprofit as well. That's the
Yeah,
same
it's
thing.
called
for
that
both.
across the board. I would be confused.
It's an entity report. It's where you get your EIN number, basically, is what it is. So it's one and the same, too.
I do have a question, though, because nonprofits, if their receipts are under 50,000, they don't have to file a full tax form. It's still a 990.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be detailed.
Right? Right.
So how do we address that in here? I mean, would they have to maybe do the template, the budget template, I would assume?
Hang on a minute, where are you? What are you looking at?
Be under nonprofit.
So this would be right here.
Instead of a financial
Oh, sorry.
statement,
I thought-
Oh.
small
Yes.
groups don't have to file if it's under.
Yeah, but
I thought it
does.
was 25, it might be 50.
Well, I
yeah,
think
it's
we
good.
might be able to,
990 in.
this is, if you read through it, it says, okay, so now I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the 990 and some don't
That's
have
right.
to do
Right.
that.
That's right.
But
They do
we're
a
giving
990,
them,
but an in.
but we're giving them the option of instead, because it says,
Or
they can
profit loss.
make a
Okay.
profit loss statement,
Okay.
which will give us what we need, so that catches those people.
I just wanted to let you guys know, in case they just send the 990, they're not going to have that information in there.
We can always do a follow-up and say that we need
Right.
more.
I just want to
that's-
make you aware of it, though.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's great.
Who's designated as answering the questions?
Answering
Does
what
Emily
questions?
do it?
Answering what questions?
When an applicant comes in and says, I don't understand, could you bring clarity?
Well, that's,
Answering the questions will be 2 pieces. First one is Emily, which is the technical side.
Okay.
How do I log in? How do I get set up? How do I get in there, download files, whatever.
Okay.
Second one is if there are questions about what kind of information we need, I think that actually goes to our email and needs to be
Right.
answered by a single point of contact.
which, by the way, did they fix that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, if you're emailing from an email that is not a perrycounty.in.gov email, and you're trying to email the group, it's probably going to block your email.
It does. It does mine.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
Security
do us any good to have it.
and Group emails to internal users within our, but if it comes from a perrycounty.in.gov email, and some of you have that,
Mm-hmm.
then it should go through because you're internal. So the only other way you're going to be able to get around that is to email, in your 2 lines, to email
Each individual.
everyone.
But Sherry, haven't you emailed us?
It's probably going to be best at this point,
That's
if
fine.
you're
Yeah.
giving, if you're
I can
wanting
reply to it. I can
emails from
respond.
the outside to go to the group,
Whoever gets it, just forward
I can tell you how to
it.
get around that. If you, because I've emailed the group with that, if you reply to an email that has been sent to the group, so let's say, Teresa, you sent the group with that thing, an email, if I hit and reply all to that and put what I want, it will go back then.
See,
But
mine
for a
mounts,
member
Probably
of the
do.
general public.
Mine
Can't
won't.
Unton change that? Can't
mine
you
doesn't work, because it bounced back on me.
There should be,
I
Greg,
can
would there
email
not be
you
a way
to.
to just change that?
are you talking about if the public were to want to email the group?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about, we're talking about two different things. I'm sorry, Teresa.
Right, yeah, I see what you're saying. about
Yeah,
how
yeah,
that-
sorry about
And that's
that.
what I was saying, just reply to
each
one of
other.
the
Right,
existing
right.
emails and you'll probably be okay.
One thing
She's
that
talking
I,
about the public.
one thing that I think would be important is if we could even host a 1-hour workshop on the grant application itself. If I could get Emily, I'd be happy to help her or whatever. I want to make sure our applicants have a full understanding, because I don't want this to be an issue where we're not getting answers to any questions via email and it's getting missed or something. I think it would be beneficial to have it can be a 1-hour workshop. And I'm not trying to extend the timeline, but if we're going to do this, I want to make sure we cover everything, so that people aren't kind of left hanging.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
It would be good if you all came up with some solution there, because the thing of it is, if somebody is emailing the whole group, who's handling it? Who's replying back? Is everybody included, or? how do you
Right.
Well,
want to
that's
handle
what the
that?
single point of contact that I just was talking about is, we need to define a single point of contact, and that's the person that will respond. The group can, give suggestions or whatever to that person, but there'll be one person that responds. That way, because if you don't, then two of us will eventually respond and we will not match.
You're correct.
Right.
It's-
most of these
no
questions-
matter how good we are, that will happen, and then that ensues chaos.
And most of the questions don't seem to be overly difficult.
No.
No, I think it's mainly going to be finances.
I mean,
So
that's-
for,
But just to avoid that problem,
I
sorry,
agree
Sherry.
with you.
no, that's okay. So for who the public emails, could we not just set up a new Gmail account and then give us all login access to it, and they could email to that one, like, whether it was ARP,
If you're okay with it, it could be either Tom, Randy, or I that gets the email, and then we send it to the group, and depending on whoever the single
I'm
point of.
okay. That.
Would Emily filter them all and then refer them to the group if there's a technical question or something?
That's a good option,
And
too.
then that way you're making one contact.
That's a
It
good
goes
option
through
as well.
her.
But are we saying that the email address that's out there and published for us doesn't work?
I'm sorry?
The email address that exists, or like, is there a ARP email address that's like published on the website?
Mhm.
And that can't be emailed?
Well, yeah, and that's something. we-
Is there not a way around that?
I'm
Like,
verifying right now, but we can move forward in the sense that, okay, so right now, the protocol that's on it.
What's wrong with letting Emily be the point of contact?
Well, that's what I was going to go through. The protocol that's on the floor right now, okay? So the protocol that be on the floor right now is that Emily gets all the emails.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is technical, she'll take care of like we planned.
Mhm.
Non-technical, like Randy said, she would then forward to whoever our single point of contact is on this board. If they know the answer, they reply. If they don't know the answer, they email the group. Is that fine?
That makes-
I think that's great.
Sounds like a win.
Is there a single point of contact volunteer?
Who's that pin drop again?
Well, I think I chaired.
I would love to nominate Tara to do
I
that.
knew you were going to do.
I'm not volunteering because, as you will find out, I abstained last time when we talked about the applications, and I will continue to abstain because of my business, and I don't want them to think there's any fishiness going on there with me having any kind of say on who gets grants and who doesn't, so.
Mhm.
Instead of overwhelming one person, what if there were 2 or 3 people, and it would be like, you have this week that you respond, and
The only
Yeah,
thing
it's
is, like
weird.
Greg said, Sherry, is
switch back and forth.
if you
between
get
people.
mixed messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, if 2 people,
I just hate to overwhelm one
Yeah.
person.
My only concern is, because I'm on the road a lot, and I try to respond to everything, but if I have like a certain window that I can respond in, not like immediately, because I might be up in Crawford County or Orange County and not have signal or anything.
I would volunteer to respond, provided that you guys would, when I didn't really know the right answer, if I contacted you guys.
I'll tell you what,
Get back to me.
I'll tell you
Could you
what,
share it?
I
That would
don't,
Yeah,
absolutely
because
be
I don't
protocol.
want to,
I don't have a problem being the point
Okay.
person. Can we get an alternate person to be CC'd on that email?
Sure.
So
How
that
about-
they can see if I'm not responding or something, you know what I mean?
Well, how
Because
about you and Sherry?
and then you can be the primary and I'll
Yeah.
be the alternate.
that'll work.
Okay.
And in the event there's something that was sent out that somebody's not agreeing with, we can always review it, come
And
back,
say,
and tell
"Hey,
the people we've decided this should be the appropriate response. So
Mhm.
instead of making one person make all the decisions,
Well, absolutely,
they
yes.
at least, the rest would be
Right.
informed. and
Right.
then
Like
somebody
so-
has a different perspective on how that should have been answered. And then we can always get back to them,
Yeah.
tell them, we've discussed it and this is more appropriate.
I mean, and you can CC the rest of us, and if we have a comment, we don't reply to them,
Yeah,
but we see them.
but you just, that's right. You apply among the group.
Did you hear that portion, Tara?
I'm sorry, no.
Tom was saying maybe it'd be best to CC everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and then if someone, has a comment that maybe we should have added something or whatever, but they wouldn't reply to the person who asked the question, they would reply to you.
Oh,
And
okay.
then the only reason I would be the alternate is if you're on the road and I see you haven't answered something for 3 days and I know you're too busy.
It won't
then
be
I
that
could
long.
do it.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So,
Or if you get sick or whatever, but
Mhm.
if you CC everyone, we can all jump in and email you our comments.
Mhm.
But we all have to realize it may be too late. She may have already responded,
Which is okay,
fine.
but if
That's
we come
fine.
back and we say, maybe we should have responded in this fashion,
Yeah.
we can always
you
email.
can amend
them.
the answer. You can,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So, just so we get them the correct information.
that's right.
That's all we're.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I suggest two things. I like where we're going with it. One is instead of CC, I would blind copy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're right.
The other thing that I would do also is I would put a time limit on it of 48 hours business. So basically 2 business days. That way we know that they're going to get a response, even if it's, I don't know yet, but we'll get back to you. We're going to get a
Acknowledge-
response.
Acknowledge them.
Yes.
Okay.
Is Emily the public contact,
Mhm.
both directions?
Yeah, I think, she said that she would take care of technical questions. I don't think it's going to be an added load for her to just pass things to us that
Mhm.
aren't technical questions. Because she's just going to forward them to Tara
There's some
and Sherry.
confusion on who they email.
Absolutely.
Okay, what do you want me to do about the email address that's on the website? I know we need to talk about that because
I
that's
haven't-
probably not
I-
going to be working.
I have a text in Anjan. Let's see if he answers this
I mean,
within the next.
some of
timeframe.
it works, but maybe,
Well, he's put a higher security level on group emails, especially like groups with links and things, because we've had so many phishing,
Mhm.
so much
The
phishing.
county has some
activity going
issues
on.
ongoing and he's
So
blocked
he's
them.
trying to eliminate.
so maybe it worked before,
group
but
emails
there's,
coming into our server.
Yeah, he's blocked it, so that, he's trying to stop it.
So, you want me to make a motion or try to make a motion?
Hold
Yes.
The longer this gets pushed out, Emily and I and Aaron and some other people are working on the mental health coalition, and she did mention the other day, we gotta realize that I'm going on maternity leave soon. Like, when
Mhm.
is that, March? March?
It's, yes, about April, because,
So be-
yeah.
be
Yeah,
mindful of
we're not
that.
changing any timeframes with this conversation yet, so this has no impact on that at this
Mhm.
point, so.
It'll be over before March.
I don't know, we haven't got to timeline, that's 6, so.
Question, the workshop, is that for the public too?
Yes, that's what I envision it would be for the public. We could just host like a 1-hour Q&A session and kind of go over this, basically, and go over, like, through an application. And that way I think it'll help prevent everybody from bombarding Emily with a lot of emails as well, and you can get all your answers, up front before you actually apply.
Okay, the last, one more question. The email, if I use the VFW emailing thing, I would have to go through the VFW computer and all that kind of stuff to be able to send it out, or can I send it all?
No.
No, it can be any,
Mm.
you can, on your,
Anytime.
yeah, whatever.
Our own personal
Mhm.
email,
Mhm.
across the river and all that.
Yeah, because it's browser-based, the application will be. No problem. See, that's one of those questions, There you go.
I don't want to influence it at all, so.
So, we got your motion.
Yeah, I can try. Okay, so I'll try to do what I did before and add the extra things, okay? So the motion is that Emily will be the basically the initial contact for all of it. Anything technical she will handle, as was the plan. Anything non-technical, but actually about how they should fill it out and that kind of stuff, will actually then go to our single point of contact, Tara, backup Sherry. They will respond within 48 hours business, so 2 days business time. And they will blind copy the rest of the group with their response. Did I do that good, Pam?
I'm trying really hard, then
Okay.
blind copy the rest, right?
That's right.
Back to Emily.
Yeah, well, blind copy this group.
Blind
This
copy
group.
the rest of
The
it.
group, yeah.
When you send it back to Emily.
Now, when we send it to the.
No, to the respondent.
answer-
Or to the
You're going
applicant.
directly to the recipient.
That's
Yes.
correct, that's correct. No reason to go back to Emily. Good?
I think I got
Yeah.
it.
Happy?
If not, I'll.
Okay.
Okay, Greg, does that
Will you
include,
Emily on that as well, so that she's aware of what your response is?
Sure.
Yeah.
She might not.
We can
Yeah.
CC Emily.
Yeah, yeah.
now that, also you had the page 2 through 4 on that one document, is that part of this one, or are we?
I can add that, yes, that would be yes. Page 2 through 4 will be removed except for the timeline.
Moved to the, okay.
To the appendix, is that what you said earlier?
I said appendix, and I think that's fine. It's still information there.
Or it can be added to the notes. Most of it's on. One other question, well, statement rather. Pam brought it to my attention on.
Okay, first we got this motion.
Oh, we haven't done
haven't
it second.
seconded
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yeah, I got a second and vote
It was
on
so long, I didn't know if somebody.
Tom seconded, if anybody heard him, we'll get you a second bell, Tom.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of Greg's
Long-winded.
extensive motion?
Aye.
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 Opposed? 6-0.
Motion carried.
And then the website? What do you want on the website? Or you just want to wait to see what Anja can do with that?
I think we want to do the fact sheet, once everybody reviews it, if there's anything to add.
You get with me on?
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
docs?
I will get with you on that one.
Is the Community Foundation the website?
Yes, it'll be on there.
But
We're going to have a link to on our webpage.
On the Perry County
Yes.
IN.gov has an ARP committee page, and we'll have information there that will maybe be more informative, that have the links to the foundation, the application.
It'll take you right to the foundation.
Regardless, the application will be on the Perry County Community Foundation's normal grant cycle process, right? So it's going to be in that same thing. It's the same software. We'll have links on our website here in the county. We'll have links probably on Facebook. We'll have them everywhere. But you're going to land, where you'll land is Perry County Community Foundation. They're going to house the application for us. The same, you're probably used to the application there. I don't know if you've ever done a grant there before. Same thing, exact same program. Yeah. Next, right?
You done? Next thing. Yeah.
Real quick on the guide, Pam brought up something.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure if I didn't miss it on the last meetings. Your meeting back in November 18th, I was just kind of going over where you guys kind of went through and made changes to the original applications that you had prepared like this and made all the changes. The only thing that I'm questioning and just wondering is on the nonprofit mental behavioral one.
Yep.
I had down that was 1,000 to 75,000. Is that right, or was that wrong? Because that's not, because on page 5, it just says from 500, awards will range from 500 to 25. And I'm taking that means for all three, or is that just for that one?
No, the one for the mental and behavioral, it says the 1,000 to 75.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's the first one.
That's
Okay.
The first one does say 500 to 25,000.
And I think that one's right. Okay, so there is one for each one then?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, because then I missed that one.
No, that's okay.
Just
And
wanted to make sure that you had all your
do
bases
you have
covered.
for small business? I
Small
think that.
business was 1,000 to 20.
Okay.
Behavioral was 1,000 to 75.
Okay,
and
then I've got the
nonprofit
right
was
ones on there.
500 to 25.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Good, okay.
Okay,
Okay, now we're done, Randy.
we're good.
Now, the next thing is we have, and I'm assuming this is where we are, we've got all three of these applications. 2 nonprofits, 1 small business. changes, comments?
I'd like to add change the wording or add the word business entity report on the first page of all of them.
Okay.
In place of,
Certificate of-
Certificate of existence, or, I mean, that can be left / business entity report.
Okay. So we need to get these changes to Emily.
Was this not printed from Emily?
This one is, but we're
Yeah.
adding
Yes.
business entity report.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you're saying for the nonprofits only, right? For everybody.
Well, I
The small business.
don't see that same wording
Okay.
on the small business.
Yeah, these were the new ones from Emily.
So which one is it on?
It's on all.
Is it on all three of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see it on the
Yeah,
small
it's on-
business one, or is it on the page?
I'm abstaining from it. I'm not going to make changes, but I will say that I read them. I didn't see anything blatant.
So-
But I won't go beyond that, you know, so.
Well, does anybody else have changes?
I don't see it on the small business one either.
So it's on 2 of them now?
Yeah, we need to add it to the other two, but on the small business, where does it need to go?
Well, the small business one has, and I'm sorry, I think we're kind of doing it wrong. We need to make a motion and then discuss.
Yeah.
If we're accepting them as is or as
I
modified.
make a
that's
motion
fine.
to accept the applications as presented. And then we can discuss and
Right.
amend the motion, because I agree with you.
Okay, gotcha.
So, anybody second?
I'll second. I can't. Tom, did you second?
Yeah, he did it with his fingers this time.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I put Tara down.
Okay, now we discuss. What else did you need to change? What do we need to change?
There's nothing, it doesn't list anything for small business as far as business
Well, the
entity.
Secretary of State Business
Secretary of
ID, I
State
think is what you're.
Business
Is that this,
ID.
okay.
Use.
Where's
It's-
that at?
It's the second thing on there.
But if you're
Oh,
not,
in the organization, I was looking in the back.
as a sole proprietorship that's not registered, you won't have an ID.
Mm-mm.
I guess that would be your social.
Use your social
your-
security
I don't think they
number.
want to divulge their social security number to us.
Well, there's a red
Are we-
asterisk by it, so it's required.
What is required of us?
So sole
for-
proprietorship, as long as it's an LLC, or, I guess if you're not an LLC, then you wouldn't have an EIN.
Right.
You could be a sole proprietor without an
Sure.
LLC. Yeah, didn't think about
A
that.
lot of them are that way. I mean, a single
Sure.
guy or,
Sure.
he runs it as his private business.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how we could do this and have them show proof that they are a business without us asking a sole proprietor for a social. I don't feel comfortable asking for someone's social
Well,
security number.
isn't it like a tax record that we required later?
Yes, we do. But again, with the sole proprietorship, you just file your income
Mm-hmm.
as your personal income.
Well, even as a sole proprietor, you're gonna have a 1040, and that would be all I would give you. If I was a sole proprietor without an LLC, all I would give you was my 1040, which just tells you my business stuff. It doesn't tell you what I make at Domtar, it doesn't tell you anything else. It just
Not
tells
the
you.
1040, the schedule.
I'm
Not the
sorry,
1040.
Schedule C, Schedule C,
Right.
sorry. 1040, Schedule C.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we don't need the 1040.
Sorry.
So what if we
Schedule
say
C.
Indiana Secretary of State Business ID or Form C?
See, you
Copy
have,
of
I mean,
them.
that, you're getting into the financial end of it. Some of them are registered merchants. They have those. I mean, some people collect sales tax. They've got to, there's several different ways to prove you've been around.
Is there any sole proprietors in the room?
Well, I'm one.
Oh, well,
Yeah, Tom's one.
yep. So what is your, I mean, how would you,
I got LLCs.
and Greg, do you?
I started doing sales tax, so I went LLC.
Okay.
See, and I've
'Cause
got
I have one- I have an LLC.
corporations, LLCs, partnerships, and sole
Yeah.
proprietors.
It's really.
Once you start going past just labor and actually selling materials, it's kind of hard not to go the
Sure.
LLC route.
Right.
what you got, a lot of probably older ones started out, he was a plumber or carpenter or
Yeah,
whatever.
just doing labor.
Yeah, and that's where it came from, and they've
Okay.
never,
Are we maybe making this harder than it needs to be? Because in a community like this, we're gonna pretty much know if somebody is a business person or not. And if we come across one which we don't know, then we
Yeah.
could ask for proofs
Yeah,
differently.
otherwise.
and aren't you asking for
Well,
some kind of a
that's-
tax document?
Yeah, that's what I was
proving
saying.
that it's for-
That's what I was saying later on, even if you don't have an EIN number or whatever, you're asking for their scheduled seats, invoice C or
Right.
whatever it is. I mean, that's what you're asking for, right?
2019, so.
Some documentation.
Yeah.
We need to change this as required then, because if someone doesn't have one, they're gonna get stopped when they don't put it in here.
That's correct.
Well, that's why I was saying there's a red asterisk there, and it says that it's required to be filled out on the
Yeah, I would
form.
just unrequire it.
Okay.
Is that on just the business one?
Yes, nonprofit, you'd have to have something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be,
Just so the
Yeah.
small business, so we want to take that asterisk off.
Okay.
Any others?
On the nonprofit one, under other information, on the previously awarded funds, it has attached documentation of any previously awarded funds. Do we want to specify like what kind of documentation we are asking for?
I'm gonna get you a megaphone.
We can't hear you down here.
On the nonprofit application, Greg, under other information, previously awarded funds,
Yep.
it says attached documentation of any previously awarded funds from the CARES Act, Small Business Administration, local funds, blah, blah, blah.
Could
Do
it be
we
a
want
award
to
letter?
Specify what we are,
Do
they're
we
not gonna
need-
know what to put. You want a copy of the check? Do you want what are we asking them to provide for documentation?
I would think any documentation, if they provided the check, they provided the award letter, they provide, I mean, I think if it's not sufficient, we would get back to them.
And I would say if they honestly write it down and refer to this, we can check.
I mean, they're not gonna write a number they didn't get. So to
I
me, a
don't-
spreadsheet would be fine. If they said, these are the 2 things that I got, and this is what it is, or 3 things, or whatever, or a letter, or whatever,
Just, yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you I got 7 grand, I didn't.
Well, and it's not, I mean, it doesn't ask how much. I don't think. It just says attached documentation, if you did get some other.
Right, but I mean, if that documentation might be just written down, you know what I'm saying? I got a PPP loan of 7 grand, or I got a whatever, I'm just
Right.
making that number
An
up.
award letter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, I guess.
Well, but
one way or
they're
another.
only hurting themselves if they're lying, so.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They could have
Oh,
got,
you're saying
they
they
could have got
got
100. I'm being
more.
so honest is what I'm, yeah, I got
That's
you understand what you're saying.
pretty good.
Because if they got 20 grand, they say 10. I understand what you're saying now. Yeah.
Well, I heard it.
Sorry.
Pardon me?
Outstanding requests, like Tell City has money as well, so do you have anything on there saying, have you applied for Tell City? You know, have you
It
applied
asks
for
if
anybody
you,
else?
does this organization intend to apply for ARP funds from other entities?
It says that on there.
But that could change.
So, does anybody have any suggestions in how to fix that previously awarded funds, what we're asking for?
I would just say award letter, et cetera.
Yeah.
I mean, that way they can disclose what they want,
Or other documentation.
or other documentation, yeah.
So we would want to put in parentheses, after the word documentation, attached documentation, parentheses, award letter, comma, et cetera, close parentheses, and then continue on. Does that work?
I see it would. It's gonna be very
How
difficult.
about award
you
letter
live in
or
there?
other documentation from,
Yeah, just some
Such as-
more guidance so that it's, if they don't have that, or Guidance, award letter's fine, and then if it's something else, if it's a copy of the check, if it's a, whatever that source gave them when they got it.
Okay.
Now, is that on both of them? Yes. Right, yeah. So I'm assuming you want that on both of them?
I would think so.
Yeah.
So are you allowed to apply for both pots of money, the city and the
Mhm.
county?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
The only thing is, I think what we're looking at is that we'd like to be aware, so that something doesn't come back and we sit here and go, well, we were unaware that somebody got $12 million. So, just so we're upfront with it and everybody's kind of transparency.
It's
And
even
once
playing
the
field.
awards begin, we'll coordinate with, I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody has applied for both, we'll coordinate back. Right, oh, that's right. Does anybody know who's heading the committee in Councilman?
I'm gonna raise my hand. So I do not know, but I'm here from Camden because I wanna work with Camden.
Okay.
Cat Hoskins. I'm new to the area and I'm involved with the library, I'm on the library board and I am really advocating enthusiastically for Camden.
So
if
I'm
anybody else already has that job, then I'll just step aside, but
Oh,
if there's.
I'm assuming the mayor's the one
The
that's in
mayor would
control
have
of
to
that.
take
Ralph Terry would.
The mayor would have to be what?
Decide who's on, the mayor or the city council decide who's on the board for Councilman. We wouldn't decide that.
If they even have to, they're not even required to have a committee, right?
They're not required to have one.
They
So-
had a couple meetings, though, I saw it in the
They
newspaper.
have
Troy,
that?
There's obviously a group of some.
Yeah, yeah,
Count
I'll
it.
go to those meetings.
Okay,
Okay, yeah.
so I guess what they're saying is, you know, they got a pot of money, the city got some money, and then the county got some money.
And Troy got money.
And Troy.
You could apply still for the county, but you could also apply for council.
It's confusing, but I'm gonna hang in there.
Yeah.
Just consider different applications.
Yeah.
And we don't want to restrict
Right.
you from applying for ours just because you applied and may get denied from Cannleton, Troy, or Tell City. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to restrict that.
You can apply to all of them.
Yeah. We're just asking if you do, tell us so that we could coordinate it and not double dip you. You know, that way if you need 25 grand, we don't give you 50 grand from two different locations, two different times, and then you got more money than what you even asked for, so you know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Do we need to tell you all what, we're gonna try to go to the county and the city thing. Do we need to tell you what we're gonna be asking the city to, or we just ask you all, just for y'all to thing?
No, it's in the application. You will put it in the application.
Like if you're intended to request funding from Tell City, a certain amount,
Right.
you can list that in there. I mean, just so it'll give us a heads up. We just want to make sure that it's an even playing field for everybody.
We don't want a double award. We don't want the city, if you're asking for 25,000, we don't want the city awarding you 25,000 and we award you 25,000. Then that's twice as much as you've asked for.
Yeah.
We just want to know that you've asked for it from the city, so we can go to the city and say, hey, have you given the money? No, we haven't. Okay, well, then we can. We want to let you know we are.
Our part.
So I have a question.
Parts of it, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a question about that. Let's say they need to borrow 20,000 and they want to ask the county for 15 and ask the city for 5.
That's their prerogative, and I would just make sure that's clear in the application.
Yes.
Yeah, things have to be
Okay,
clear.
that- You just answered my question, because whatever we ask the county, and we need, you just give me a good idea, like, if we're gonna have, say 20, we want 20,000 altogether, we'll see, we'll get 15 from y'all, and then when we go to the city and we fill out that application, we'll ask 5 for them, and if y'all gave us anything, we let the city know, this is what the county gave us, and then we'll go from there.
I would
Yep.
make it known that your total amount requested that you need is like 20,000, but you've gone to 2 entities to get that figure. Does that make
Some of the
sense?
applications where we be able to fill it in on there.
Mhm.
Okay, we're gonna ask for 15 from the county, and then we're gonna ask for 5 from the city.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's 2,000 characters that you can
Yeah.
type in there, so that's plenty.
Yeah.
That's a lot of typing.
Yeah, that's one of the ones.
Okay.
One more quick question, I'd like to jump back.
Before we leave that one, sir, can I add to that one, if we're gonna do a different section? The other thing for to put in there, especially public, if you're listening, is, it's if you've got matching. If this is somehow allowed to be money for a matching grant of some sort, it'd be nice to know that as well. That way we know that we quadruple our money if we give it to you, or double our money, or whatever. I would love to know that in these applications as
That'd be
well.
a motivating factor to award
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Okay.
So make sure you put that as part of your narrative, if you know you can use this as matching funds for another grant.
I think
Sorry,
it needs
sir.
to, I think it needs to be on here.
Okay.
Well,
I think
and
that's true.
two, I don't know that I would split it. I mean, just thinking that if you want $20,000, that you apply to the county for 20,000,
Yep.
and the city with the note that you've applied to both entities. We may be able, the county may be able to give you 20,000
Okay,
as opposed to 15. I'm not saying,
right, I'm with you. on that.
right, so don't limit yourself.
Tom's point is, we have no idea how many applicants come in, how much
You know,
dollars they're gonna ask.
It's a setup, we might get it, and
Yeah.
say, sorry,
Right.
we can't help you.
Right.
You go to the city and.
We don't have that crystal ball to know.
We're
I-
actually, Tell City's a couple months behind,
Yeah.
actually, in our meetings. So we're just getting to the point where we're having our public listening session on the 16th. So I don't know if yours will be done by the time we
Yeah.
start. It very well could be.
I think
Yeah.
it also depends on the program or the plan, because you don't want to like duplicate services. There's the lost revenue part, but if, we don't want to fund the same program through the city and the county and like double dip like that.
Hopefully, we're a small enough community that we can communicate.
That, you just answered, you know, what we were sitting there talking, hey, how much do we wanna ask? I said, we can go, whatever. We've got all our figures on it. We gotta really,
I think it
try
needs
to
to
do
be
our
in
best
here.
to improve, but then we're trying to get our feedback on that, but we need so much, like I said, you just answered. The last thing I got real quick, I think, back on that first page where you were talking about the tax information, all that stuff, I know you mentioned something about the last time about not, or help me out a little bit, about getting too, much information or kind of digging into the.
I might have made the comment about the Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah,
See, all government money and all government entities, as soon as a newspaper reporter or somebody wants something, they can file a Freedom of Information Act and usually get about anything they
Will these
want.
funds be
So,
used as matching funds?
It's part of the government, part of the business, it's part of transparency,
figure out
and
how to-
and I don't know any way around
Will
it,
these funds be
but
matched?
it happens,
I
you
don't
know.
know how to
and
word that.
If
you wanna
It's
know
not
how
anything we'll
much they want,
publish, you know, it's,
then I indicate
but
it.
if
But it
somebody
does
comes
become
to us,
part of
Is this
yeah,
a part
it
of the
is part of the
matching
record,
grant?
and
Yes, no.
it can be requested.
If so, what is the rate?
I know, and there's other, Charlie's gonna be on by the other.
Match
things,
percent.
We're getting all, trying to get all our ducks in a row on that.
Sure.
As far as the taxes and all that stuff. Thank you.
Now, Greg, you brought up the fact about adding that, about matching.
She's
So should
working on it right now.
What about getting?
Should we add that as another section for Emily?
She's doing that right now. Give her just a second.
Because I think that's valid. If we can,
Yeah.
if somebody can get a dollar for dollar, two for two, whatever, matching,
This is a lot.
that really makes our
Fabulous.
money go far.
Yes.
Okay, so if you go to page 3 of the not-for-profit mental behavioral health, and it'll be for all of them, but I'm just finding a place we can find it. It'll be for all 3 of them. Under budget information, it says, enter the total amount of funding requested. The next question after that could be, is this part of a matching grant? This would be yes, no.
Mhm.
The next question would be, if so, what is the match percentage? And we'll make that one a non-required one.
I agree. I was
Is
just
that okay
gonna
with
suggest
everybody?
that. And also, just listening, you know, like to him, I think it might be a good idea if we create a checklist of what everybody's gonna need for this application. Just say, hey, do you have your W-9, and do you have your this, do you have this, do you have this? to help them? This is gonna be a lot.
I will say that just knowing, because I've filled out grants before on this system, and I've also, helped kids fill out their
It
applications
kicks back
and stuff,
error,
because,
error messages, yeah.
Well, not only that, you can save at any point and come back to
And
it.
come
as
back and
well.
get it.
So, I don't know if there's need for a checklist, but I do think that when we have the walkthrough or the
Mhm.
talk with everyone,
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's where we
That would be
really-
a good idea
That'd be
then.
the place to, have handouts, then we can put it
Okay.
online. I don't think we need that tonight, but
No,
it's an
that's
adder, it's an adder.
My question is, and I'm not familiar with these matches, is there restrictions with those that we need to be aware of if they do have them? Or
Really,
is that
they-
a question we ask after the fact?
They would have to know that, up front, whether they could use these funds or not. I mean, I think,
can't
wasn't
think
ever
of-
really decided whether these could be used for federal match or not? They can, right?
Final rule.
Final rule was, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can pull it out.
I can't think of a lot of maybe small business matching opportunities,
No,
but in
but-
terms of the not,
Non-for-profit, mental health, yeah. Possible.
Both state and federal.
I think the final rule was both state and federal, if I remember right. I've read so many of them, I blur them together now. But I
Well,
think the last
you
one
may,
was.
you may have somebody as a private foundation that would match too,
Absolutely.
so.
Absolutely. But I was just saying, most of the time when you hit a restriction like that, it's that this is federal money, so you can't use it to match more federal money, is
Right.
usually the restriction,
Right.
That's usually the way that goes.
Anything else?
Can I make the motion then?
I think we did already.
The motion,
Yeah, we did.
I think we've
How
got
many
the
amendments do you
Yeah,
have?
well, I mean, the amended motion, we can't, I
We've
mean, I
actually got-
didn't think we'd want to accept them as they were. We want
Yeah.
to amend the motion
Yeah.
to add all of these.
Right.
Right.
You want to give a shot at the amendments?
I'll try. You guys have me by the
We'll
head.
just say as discussed.
Yes, discussed.
Make sure Pam's got them. I mean, that helps Pam out, to make sure she's got them good, so.
Okay. We'll see. So, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make a motion that we approve the applications as, I want to make an amended motion that we approve the applications as submitted with the following corrections. Okay. Each application, under budget information, we'll add the following two questions. Is this part of a matching grant? With a yes/no response? And the following, and then the other one is, if so, what is the match percentage? Okay, so that's one change. Also, on page 4 of the not-for-profit mental health behavioral. And this will be the same on all three applications. Again, under previously awarded funds, after the word documentation, we will insert in parentheses, award letter, comma, copy of check, comma, et cetera, close parenthesis, close parenthesis. What else? Are those the only two, you guys?
The business entity reports.
Business entity.
Oh, and also on the small,
No, that's on the nonprofit.
okay,
Sherry.
no, wait, on the small business operational assistance one, on the Indiana Secretary of State Business ID, we're removing that it's required.
Right. Yep.
Okay? On the not-for-profit, I don't know that I wrote that one down. Help me out, Greg.
That was on the two not-for-profit.
On the not-for-profit,
Under certificate of existence, add business
Entity.
entity report.
Business
okay,
entity.
we're going to change that, yes, we're going to change that to business entity
Hey, I have
on the
all-
not-for-profits.
I have them all
Did you do
already.
good? All right. I never doubted you. But it makes it easier if you got them right in front of you, right?
Yes.
I
So if
think
that's all of it, Tom, you gonna second the amended? He just seconded it.
Tom did?
Yep.
Okay, because I couldn't hear him.
Okay. Also, we're gonna need to add the new timeline dates into this guide.
But let's vote on the
Yeah,
application
yeah,
first.
yeah, but I'm
Let's
just
finish this
saying, we'll
vote.
need to do that,
Yeah.
okay.
So we gotta-
That's
Okay.
on the application, the deadline, okay.
Yeah,
We gotta
it'll
post
be
it.
in the
We're
guide.
getting through it.
You'll hear it tonight, actually. So-
All right.
Where'd that, how
We've
that-
had a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting them as modified?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, that's
Opposed?
That's what you just changed.
The entity
6-0
one, yeah.
carried.
That's the entity.
Okay.
That's it, just that one word.
Yeah, entity report.
Okay.
So we don't need-
Now we go to the modified grant application guide, right?
Like, do you guys are you wanting me to submit these to Emily then? All these changes?
Yes, please?
Okay.
Please.
I was answering a question from the crowd. Did we actually vote?
Yes.
Okay, I abstained. Just
You
so-
abstained?
Yes.
Yes.
So then it's 5-0-1. Now, the next one's the grant application, is the modified agenda, correct? Guide?
Grant
The guide.
Now, discussions on that?
Well, we already talked about
The
removing
application.
the pages, updating the
Yeah.
timeline.
So is that all the modifications we're gonna do to it?
We
We're
already
just,
had one.
we just need to add whatever timeline we determine this evening
And that'll
into
come
the.
later on.
Yes.
I'll make that motion when we do the timeline. How's that sound?
Okay.
Okay, so let's, the other one was the tracking.
Yep.
Tracker.
Tracker
Number
index?
4. Now, are we gonna do this, I guess, before we do the timeline?
Might as well.
All right.
So I get the use of this sheet. I think it's probably a necessary sheet to have. This is internal until requested, I guess. This isn't something we're gonna
No,
necessarily post.
I wanted you guys to see what other communities, how they're awarding the funds, what they're awarding to.
But it would be nice to have this for ourselves too, don't you think?
I sent you the link is in the document. It's on the NACO website.
No, I meant
Or-
as we're awarding, it would be nice to actually.
Yes, I think it would be good to track that, keep it public as well.
Yeah.
So-
That's what I was asking. Do we want to
Yes.
post it or not post it, or what do we want to do with
Mhm.
it? But I'm all right with posting it because it's public information
Right.
anyway.
I just thought it was
It would help
neat.
you guys when you're doing yours too.
Mhm.
I liked it.
It was just,
So at this moment, no action on that until we?
Mm-mm. It was
What do you wanna
mainly
do?
for
Do you wanna
reference.
Set it up, or, I mean, we can deal with it later, or do
I think
wanna
we
set it up
can,
and post it?
yeah, after we do the, I guess, the evaluation rubric or whatever we're gonna do there.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is the county reporting.
So, on final rule, it gives counties the opportunity, do you want to talk more about this, Ms. Auditor?
You just go right on ahead. You're doing a good job.
Okay.
I'll chime in if I need to,
Okay.
but you're doing good.
It gives them more of the opportunity to go ahead and claim it as all loss of revenue, which would make for easier reporting on our auditor's office. At the same time, I think it would be it will allow for more flexibility, am I correct?
Yes. Because if you don't do it as, before, we had to do it as a formula,
Mhm.
which is what Luke kind of figured out as far as what the government loss was. And it was a pretty intact formula, which I helped out some with it, because
Mhm.
we had to take all the county funds. You had to figure out what you could use, what you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to do it that way the first time. Now, our next reporting is coming up in April. now they're giving us the opportunity that even though we did it that way, we could claim it all as a government loss, and then that way, it just falls underneath that, and then you can do how the money. But if you go do it as, if we say you're gonna continue as a formula, then here on out, it's going to be, you have to do it as a formula basis. And I'm gonna tell you right now that I will need help on that, because I did not handle that, Luke did most of it, and I really don't want the responsibility of the whole $3 million, since you guys are the committee for the $3 million,
Well,
not me.
okay, so I've got two questions on that. First, even if we keep it at formula based, I think when me and Luke sat in the back room and actually went over that calculation together too. And I
Mhm.
think it was like, almost like 1.6 for just the first year.
Yes.
It's like almost the whole amount.
Yes,
Mhm.
We've only spent 400,000 for the county.
Mhm.
360,
Okay, close enough.
yeah, or,
But
yeah.
so- That's
350.
the auditor right there.
Yeah. Sorry, it is.
So 400,000, so if you have the 1.2, right, which, I mean, I don't see putting 1.2 towards lost funds in the county. Or are you saying actually take all this?
It's just for the
I think-
reporting issues is what it is.
So you're saying to put it all in underneath general fund, regardless?
See, and that's something too I'd have to find out. I don't
Because
even
you
know
do
if
that
we, if it is claimed as that, is if we could even move it out of the ARP fund. I'm not even sure at that
You
point.
still have to keep it in an ARP bucket.
Yeah.
Because it's ARP funds. NACO is recommending
Yeah,
all counties.
Mhm.
You can take a standard allowance of up to $10 million.
right,
Or whatever your maximum is.
It's
if
10.
It's less than that.
yeah. No, it's 10, up to 10,
I
right?
thought
But
there
you
It
you
is.
don't have to
It is.
calculate it.
Counties,
It's
any
10.
county that has 10
It's
million
10,
or more can
period.
take the whole 10 million.
Yep,
But any less than that, you can take your maximum amount
Mhm.
and count it as a standard allowance. And it basically goes into an ARP bucket that the county can utilize and spend it however they would normally spend general revenue.
which goes to my next question.
It alleviates.
Which goes to my
a lot
next
of the
question.
Extra stringent
Yeah.
rules on reporting and
Right.
clarification.
Yeah, and I understood, I started to understand the process, because, I mean, it's the 10 million basically, or if you can make more than that, basically,
Mhm.
you can go higher. But 10 million standard deduction, so that's basically what we've got. So we could take it all and put it in the general fund in the sense of, it'd be an ARP bucket, but it's inside the council's appropriation then, right? They're the ones that will appropriate.
Which is what they still do now.
I understand.
Yeah.
But now that it's there,
Mhm.
does that mean that it has to be spent on certain county things, or can it be granted?
No, I think it still can go as how you, as the
Still-
committee, still want to grant, or how you're still wanting to grant the money.
Because that's my concern, that
Yeah.
I don't want this committee to lose power over
No,
where that
no,
money
and that
goes.
was, no, this is the only thing we were talking about as far as just the reporting aspect of it, as
Yeah.
far as to the state, or to the feds.
Yeah.
It wasn't to take anything away from the committee as far as what you guys have started and what you're wanting to do. It was just as far as the reporting process.
So how do we get assurances to that? Because I mean, like with Tom and Randy and myself, when we formed this board, we said, we're gonna follow you. We're gonna be on it with you, we're gonna follow you, this is how it's gonna work, right?
Mhm.
If we did it that way, it kind of falls now more in the council's realm. How do we get that same assurance that they're going to use it that way? Not that I'm thinking they're not going to, but I'm just saying,
But
it's
you guys
always
still
nice to
have to
have an
do-
assurance in place.
Don't you guys still have to do the plan? That it
Right,
would still
but
have to
you did
come
it-
through on your
Our
plan?
plan would be to put it in that ARP bucket.
Right.
That would be our
But
plan.
that was under the premise of the interim final rule, not after this final
Right.
rule.
That's right. This final rule, though, still said that if we're gonna do it that way, we are giving it to the council as revenue loss. That would be our plan. We would have no more control as commissioners over that money.
Could it be
Gotcha.
a simple resolution from the council that
I'm
the
all right with
ARP
that.
money will be
Resolution's
spent
fine.
as outlined by the ARP advisory committee?
Mhm.
The council would have to vote on
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Council would have to.
I'm just asking for an assurance. I'm sure they'll do the right thing. I have no doubts in my
I'm
mind.
on board with you, Greg.
But I want a
Where you're
resolution.
heading. Pam, is this, if I'm listening correctly, you would then just take this bucket of money and say it's all county loss, and then you're done with the reporting end of it. That's correct?
Well, I don't know, that's just the first reporting that we do for this year.
It'll
There'll still be more reporting
It'll be
down the
more
line.
Generalized statements that X amount of dollars was given
Yes.
to so-and-so
Because we
nonprofit.
still have to kind of say where the money went as
Right.
far as in the
But
reporting
it's
process.
not so much detail.
When's the
Based on the
next
final rule, what I read was
due?
basically it goes into that bucket, and this is my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, and sometimes reading these things, you gotta be a lawyer, as that feels like.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
but my understanding is it goes in that ARP bucket underneath the council's umbrella. And then from there, the auditing process and the reporting process is very similar to what you're already doing, Pam, with the state, is what it looked like to me. I mean, you still have to do a report out to the feds, but
Mhm.
all the auditing and stuff is more internalized to the state.
Right, and I just have to kind of keep track, kind of like with the CARES Act, as far as when we get audited from the
Yep,
State Board of
that's right.
Accounts and stuff too, as
Can-
far as how I keep the records
how I
and
read
stuff.
Can you leave it in one numbered account and then write all your requests out? You know how you've got about 500 different numbers you work with constantly? Can you leave it in just one account? Because I'm assuming we're gonna have requests for funds presented to the council that'll have to be voted on in order to transfer this money to the entity we're moving it to.
Well, the only thing I was thinking as far as lines, like here, where we've created one, where it went out to the,
General,
for the community foundation, for the
Right.
application process.
Mhm.
We did for the vendor for our Lao software.
Right.
And then we would do one like what you guys got, like for applications, or for, we could state it somehow, how you've got this
Just
one
grants.
point two, where we would do it as a 1.2. Kind of do it as those certain type line items, where we wouldn't have one for each one, no.
Yeah.
I'm thinking is doing it as a big bucket thing, and then
Because,
going out from there.
see, you've already awarded that money under the premise of the old calculations. Now you're saying, we'll just grab it as a $10 million or the total amount and say.
We did one of those as that premise. That was the low software. The other,
Well,
the other
and
two
then
did
the-
not.
The community foundation?
No.
I
No, that
will
was under-
say, I
That was an
did,
administrative under this, so we're
I-
allowed to do administrative stuff under this.
Okay, so, okay.
I did find something
Gotta
on,
be good.
when it talks about the match or share requirements. It says recovery funds beyond those under the revenue loss category cannot be used as the non-federal match or cost share requirement of other federal programs other than as specifically provided by statute, certain, like broadband deployment, infrastructure, any other kind of
So we
things.
would lose that capability.
Mhm.
So we can't go for federal.
Some of those other buckets don't they state whether they will accept ARP?
Yes, they
Matching.
have funds available under the revenue loss eligible use category may be used to meet the non-federal cost share matching requirement, such as like SRF and things like that. However, these funds may not be used for the non-federal shares, states, Medicaid, CHIP programs, even under the revenue loss category. So if you claim it all as revenue loss, you can use it, but if you don't, you can't use it as a match for programs.
So we still need to claim it.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer Randy's question, it will be a line item. that
Yes,
The council will have to approve
right.
every dime that comes out of it.
That's right.
The only question I have as far as the auditor, because since this is all running through my office, like on this here where the community foundation does grants too already. This money here, are we planning to turn this over to them where they
No.
will write the checks out? Or are
No.
all these checks gonna come through my office to write out?
They will all come through you. They will not go through the community foundation.
Okay.
Because we can't re-grant, and that would be too close to a re-grant.
Even though that they're doing the work here?
They're
that's
doing
still-
administrative work, they
Well,
are not
only-
granting.
Okay,
That, on record on that one.
okay.
Because we are not re-granting, because that is not allowed.
Okay.
Well, if you do it, there's a lot of,
So that's even giving it to any
No,
type of
don't do it.
organization, so,
yeah, so like.
I'm assuming she's gonna have to create a whole bunch of new vendors then. For her to
Yes.
write
You would have to
checks
create vendors.
yeah.
And that's gonna have to happen anyway.
Is there a way to outsource that? I'm just thinking about Pam, and she's not gonna be here in that office, and that's somebody brand new that maybe doesn't have any experience. And that's a little scary. I didn't know if that's something, you know.
Yeah, where you could put the funds in there.
I'll have to reread, but I didn't think re-granting was allowed.
I
You
thought,
can do it, but it's more,
No, I didn't think it was allowed. Like, I can't grant from one nonprofit to another nonprofit.
I think initially it wasn't allowed, but I'm thinking now they're allowing
Because
it.
didn't we
Oh.
talk about doing it,
I may have
like,
missed it.
Yeah.
if we granted money to, wasn't that one strategy we talked about, instead of us figuring out?
But I wasn't sure.
We talked about granting it to like United Way, and then
Right.
them granting it out to
Yes,
individuals.
yes.
But,
Well, not,
But, yeah,
okay, if we put in our commissioner's plan
yes.
that we put it all on revenue loss, with that, it will be spent according to the ARP Advisory Council, or committee.
Mhm.
Can we put that in our plan, and then we don't have to go back and amend our plan? Then,
You still have to amend the plan to put, I mean.
well,
still have
only
to-
once,
Yeah, once.
Yeah, oh, I was gonna say doing it only once.
right.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with it.
There's
If we
bound to
go
be
that
a-
route, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Right. And then the reporting would be a lot easier to make sure it's accurate, and we don't get called
Right.
back on,
From the State Board of Accounts and everything else as far as with our federal audit.
right. Because it'll be federal audit.
We'll bypass it this year for 21 because you have not spent, even though we were granted it,
But it will be.
but we will not be audited on it for 21. I have found that out because you have to spend the money before we're actually audited on it. Even
Right.
though we got it, you have to spend it first. So the audit won't happen on this until 23.
So Pam, are we required to make that determination by April?
Yes, because
And
that's
if-
the next reporting for, because it's under certain population and, or the money that you got, population and the money that you received, and we fall under the April guideline as far as the next reporting date.
So then will there be another opportunity later on? or
Nope,
is it
once you
done?
make whatever you're doing this time, then you stick
You're
with
done.
that throughout the whole
Most
thing.
counties are given the option to
Change
change their
this one
minds
time.
based on previous reporting,
Yeah,
but whatever they choose.
that's what you have to
that's what
stay
they
with
have to
then.
stick with.
Yep.
Quick question. If you get turned down this time or thing, of course, you know, you're all kinds of stuff. If y'all get another 1.8 million, can we go back in and resubmit the same application for the next time?
And let's say that happens, I would ask for a debrief and find out, why you weren't awarded, and then you can always go back and redo your application and maybe include some things that might have been missing or we didn't understand or something. That's my
I don't
opinion.
believe there's any limit on the amount of times you can apply.
Oh,
No.
You just answered my second question. How many times, we get turned down, then we go to the city, they give us, let's say they give us something. And when we go back, then we would let you all know, okay, we got 5,000 from the city, on that one page or something. And then just apply all over again, I think, for another grant or thing, say $15,000 or $20,000.
Just because you didn't get a grant doesn't mean your project was a bad idea. We do have restrictions that we have to follow.
Right, I
So,
that part I understand.
I mean, so, again, as Tara said, it would be good to ask the question because there's no reason to duplicate something that doesn't fall within our guidelines that allows us to even fund it. So if there's some way to modify it, do that before you made it twice and it happened twice to you.
The workshop you're talking about, that'd be a different thing, we're gonna throw everything out there today. Thank you.
Hopefully you'll get it, to begin with, be done.
I'll take it.
So Pam, getting back to our decision on this here, is it April 1st we have to decide that?
I'm not sure if I think the deadline on it was like at the end of April, but I would say definitely
It's
maybe in
April
March to make your
30th.
decision, definitely.
And I'm thinking that
Plenty of time so that way we
maybe
know what
we
we're
should
doing.
think about it, but we also, Tom and Greg, bring it up to the commissioners, see what their thoughts are. I mean, we've got a little time, same with the council, because I think we all kind of know what we want to do. Limit as much work as we can from Pam, at the same time to try to move it into the areas that we're trying to fund. So however we can accomplish that, make everybody comfortable.
Do you think maybe we should table it to the next meeting?
Yes, table it and have some,
Yeah, 'cause
maybe
we'll meet
put it
before
on the
it's
agenda
due.
for the commissioners and also the council so that, you know,
Yep.
they can put some input into it also, but there may be some things we're missing.
But I would
But,
want a resolution from both of them that they would fund, just because, not that there's not trust there, it's just that this is an election year. We could have different, you know,
Yeah.
councilmen and
Well,
commissioners, and I want them to follow, if you make a resolution.
Because
they-
once it becomes county funds, I mean,
Right,
it's county
they can
funds.
change
That's
their
right.
minds.
Well,
on-
only the council, the commissioners can't after that. Once it becomes,
Right, but the
Yep.
council, we would, I mean, we've got, what, 4 seats up for reelection,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
I would appreciate, as a member of this board, a resolution from the current council.
That's my whole point of what I was talking about earlier, is I want to make
And I
sure
think
that there's
that
some sort of, you know.
I
That
agree,
would-
you
that would
limit
be
the
proper.
temptation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to go against that. The other thing, I just quickly looked through here and I didn't see where you can't re-grant in
I
the
didn't
final
either.
rule. So I'm gonna dig deeper in that one, but we may be able to make it easier on you, Pam, too.
Well, I'm just,
I think
and
we
it's not
can.
that the ideal of making it easier, I'm just thinking, you know, it is gonna take a lot of time to do that many extra checks. And if it can be funded out to someone, even if it is a community foundation, or if you've got separate groups that can
Right.
handle each type,
Yeah.
it'll be easier to write one check to that place and let them then divvy it out how your applications
Yeah,
are.
I said it wrong. I meant in the sense of audit purposes and stuff like that. It makes
It
life
does,
easier
I
for
mean,
all
it
of
would,
us,
because
and
it'd be
whoever
a
takes
lot
your
less
job.
tracking, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean just personally you.
but
I
that
Oh,
just-
no,
just takes
that's fine.
money out of the,
It takes money out because there will be a fee with that with the community foundation, and just because we want them to do it doesn't mean that they're gonna accept
Right.
doing it.
No, but there may be someone else that might
And
do it too.
the first
so-
question is
Yes.
how many
Yeah.
checks, how
Absolutely.
many people, how many,
Oh,
we
absolutely.
can't answer that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because that's what they want to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and, you know, and if it's not that many, it may be something definitely we can handle easy.
Mhm.
Right.
It's just, you know, with the workload we got and the checks that we normally have to write and go through, we don't have a lot of spare, so I'm just trying to make sure it's easy for everyone.
So a couple things in homework, I know I will, and I'm sure Tara will too, probably a few others, but I want to make sure that if we put it in to the ARP bucket for underneath the council, that basically, one, the possibility of doing revolving loans is not gone, because I think that's a discussion we need to have, especially on the second round. And then the other piece is to make sure that we can re-grant it. That's the two things that I think we need to follow up on, so.
Okay, Greg, as you're thinking of that, who would manage the revolving loans in your?
I just want to leave it in discussion. I don't want to kill it until we have to. Might as well keep it out in the discussion, because to me, there's some things that make more sense to me as a revolving loan than it does as just handing some money to someone.
but I agree. You
That's
get more
something we
bang
could get
for your
Region
buck.
15 to help with too.
Yeah.
Well, like Tell City has a,
They have a-
All
They have a revolving loan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hamilton does too.
Yeah.
Does the county probably does not, though? I-
Probably does
I
not.
don't know wherever.
No,
But it's
but
not
Region
like
15
the
can help
city limits.
administer it.
Tell City can grant to anyone in the county.
Ah.
And lend money to them in a
Yeah.
revolving loan
They
type
have
deal.
a board.
Might be a good time to do that,
Board.
as a county.
So,
So who manages the Tell City revolving loan?
Well,
They have a committee, Janice handles most of it, but I
Through the
think
mayor's
it's the
office.
TCEDC.
yeah, but then they have,
Yeah.
two different
It's-
groups, like in that group, they have the EDC and then they have the revolving loan fund, which is part of the EDC.
But like when you pay your loan payment, you send it to the mayor's office, it gets.
And who does the bookwork, the clerk or Janice?
Janice manages the loans.
The loans?
But I'd say the clerk probably manages any fund distribution and
Yep.
disbursement.
additional work, but there may be a tremendous amount of value there if you,
Mhm.
on certain things.
Well, if you're looking towards the future, no
Yeah.
kidding. Because the
I will
funds,
mention
you know.
that Tell City does not, I can't say they don't approve, but they recommend for people to first apply, like if it's business in Hamilton, they recommend them to propose to Hamilton first before they propose to Tell City.
Yeah.
So anything in the county can be funded under Tell City EDC.
Okay.
See, and I don't know if the county ever considered setting up something like that,
But there are
where
some
funds.
clauses in there.
We may not have had the money to set something up like that before.
there's some.
I mean, what is in our rainy day fund?
30,000.
There you go. There's probably why we don't have a revolving, if we did, we'd give it to ourselves.
No, there is no, I'll tell you right now, there is no spare, right.
I'm just saying.
Well, but their money is from like the EDA, like it's not,
USDA.
right, it's not the city's.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying, the reason why we never had that opportunity to do anything like this, because we didn't have the funding to do something like that.
They also have a digital guide too, so they recommend people work with local banks on top of them.
Mhm.
So they find the difference,
Bridge loan,
yeah,
yeah.
but not always, sometimes it's.
Yeah, but it's a thing that may push them to the point they can,
Well, the person has to reject the loan
Right,
offer
they-
from the
they
bank
want you
or be denied.
To get a denial.
To get it, yeah.
From a bank before they're, but
Or
that's
they
just
do
how they do
bridge
it, I don't know that
loan
that's.
alternates.
And I didn't mean to add an item to the agenda, but I just don't want to, I think we need, if we're going to look at giving it to the council, we just need to make sure that those two options are still an option.
then I think we need to have some kind of accepted restrictions,
Yes,
you know, so that it gets used for what the
Mhm.
intent was.
yeah. So table it until the next one at this point?
Thoughts, okay?
Well, the other thing is, you know, Region 15 helps establish RLF groups, committees and all that, and helps walk the process with people. I mean, they help with that too.
Yeah.
That's always an alternative.
We go down the road of loans, that's
Yeah.
always an option.
Sure.
So I'll motion to table it until the next meeting, so that we can do our homework.
A second.
Got a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Greg, you're on board here?
Oh, I'm sorry, aye?
Okay, I'm just making sure you're not gonna abstain on
Yeah,
it.
just the applications, I'll.
6-0. Okay, now we're at
I just won't.
timeline. Tara, you had talked about having a community sort of work session to walk them through this.
Yeah.
My
and-
initial thoughts would be we probably want to publish the documents and then
Have them look
within
at
a
it.
week or two or some period of time, then, you know, after they've got some questions,
Yeah.
then have that. I mean, I don't know what kind of time.
I don't want
frame.
to stretch the timeline any more than we have. You know, is there anything on the legal side that if we do this, that we have to publish? Is it still 48 hours to notify that we can have a workshop?
I think
We
that's
still-
it,
It's a
right?
public meeting, yes.
If it's a public,
If the
okay.
commissioners are attending.
Well, we
Okay.
just won't attend. No, I'm just kidding.
Seriously, one.
Or one of us will, and one of us won't. Yeah. so.
At 40, you want to have the public notified as well as, because that's what you're doing it for.
Sure.
So they can ask you your questions.
Maybe we should establish the timeline when we'd like to get this done all together and then look at where we can fit the workshop.
Okay, does anybody have any idea,
Here was your
Emily,
last one.
getting the corrections?
She's pretty
I'll
quick.
get Emily the corrections tomorrow.
So,
Yeah.
Monday, she's probably ready to roll. I mean,
There's not very many corrections.
That was at your November.
okay,
Oh, up to November?
so Monday's the 14th.
Valentine's Day.
You don't want to bring extra candy.
So my question is, sometime that week post it, or 14th, 15th, 16th, whatever, I mean, let's set a date, put it out there.
Well,
Emily,
that's-
15th, give
yeah,
her
let's
an
give her a
extra
little bit
day.
extra.
And I need to contact Emily and make sure she's okay with assisting me on this.
Okay, as far as the questions?
Yeah, well, yeah, if we're gonna be, yeah.
So is the
working together.
15th posting the applications, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
tentative, let's go through it once and see if this makes
Okay.
sense. Then how long do we want them up before Tara would have her informative get-together?
Well, the council meeting in March is, what, the
Thursday.
24th?
Probably, because February is that, and I think March is the same.
Yep, it is.
Yep, 20,
So the 24th, which means that would give
Okay.
them 13 plus 24, that gives them 37 days to fill it out. If we wanted to say that was the day that we,
you want them in?
yeah.
What was that date again?
It would be,
March.
so far, posted 2/15,
Okay.
and then we would start reviewing on that council day. And the only reason I made it to where it's a meeting is so that we can just have we're gonna build a rubric between here and there.
Right.
We need to probably have that conversation of what that is. And
See, and that, the next thing is, and I think somebody's working on it, whoever, but we need to get that done before the applications are viewed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
We already decided we're gonna meet at noon on Friday and work on it, and we'll come up with a suggestion for the rubric.
So we can bring back to you guys to vote on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which you can vote on that
On the 24th?
of this week, I mean, next week, sure, or you can vote it on, because the next week on the 24th is the council meeting, which would be our regular meeting.
No, it's the week after.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
what is the date, Teresa, for the council?
February 24th is.
24th.
Next week will be the week of the 14th.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sorry, I jumped a week, didn't I? I've done that twice now on our meeting too.
So,
So are you proposing then, Greg, another meeting on the February 24th just to discuss and go through the rubric?
Rubric, and then we also will have some of our homework done too by then. Maybe we could cover one of those items as well.
Some of it, but I think that we'll have a council meeting that same day, so I think
That's correct.
we'll see what the response is. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, depending on that though, we can have that discussion that night too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we still have a little bit of time if the report or the requirement for the filing's April.
Okay,
It may be at the end of April, so.
right.
We do have a little time there.
Because I'm gonna make it really easy on the commissioners when we meet, probably I'll just make a motion with some, things that say that these things have to happen before it's, made, and then that will go on with life is how I'm planning on doing that, so that we're ready whenever you are.
Okay, let's go back then. If we post it on the 15th, are we gonna make it active on the 15th then too? Let them start
I
filling
think
it
so.
out?
I would do.
I mean,
Yeah,
with the boxes and stuff,
Yeah.
that they're
Yeah.
capable of.
Fire away.
posting
Okay.
is active. So then when's the last date they can submit an application?
Didn't we say we wanted at least 30 days for them to do this?
Well, that's why I said
Usually-
if we do the 24th of March, that's 37 days from the 15th.
Okay.
So
We're gonna
end
make
date
the
will
March
be.
24th the ending?
Yep.
All
And then
right.
that's a
So it
meeting date for
closes
us.
March 24th.
In case we need it.
Perfect,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, in the interim, you're gonna develop this rubric that we're gonna approve,
On the 24th of February.
right?
What time are we putting the cutoff?
Close of day, is that 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock? It's 4 o'clock.
Okay.
By 3 or 4 years in, I'll remember what that is, Pam, so.
What time will the grant meeting, will it be after the meeting, county council meeting?
Yes.
Yeah. That's our normal meeting time.
So
is after
then,
that.
what do we want to do for how long to review them? So our review would obviously start on 3/25, but 3/25 through what?
We ought to give it 30 days, don't you think?
Oh, that's a long time.
I think so
I
too.
think it depends on how many we get,
Yeah.
too. I mean, we
I
need
think
to
we
have
ought to
an
have
idea of
a-
it, but if we get,
2 weeks enough?
If we
2
have 6
weeks.
people, it'll be easy. If we have 600, it'll be
Give 30
less.
days, but if it's earlier, we call a meeting and we're done? Is that okay with people? Because Emily's gonna track if we're progressing. Emily's a driver.
And I would prefer
She's
to
gonna
have
tell you.
something shorter,
Yeah.
because then it forces people to go ahead and take action.
Okay, I'm
Rather
fine with
than
that.
long.
Let's do 2 weeks.
2
2 weeks is
first,
great.
And then if we get it over, we'll know by the 24th, I'm assuming at that meeting, a volume
How many?
of applications.
You can adjust from there.
Tentatively set it for 2 weeks after that.
Yep.
And at that time, then we'll, after everybody's scored them, have a meeting, or are we gonna wait till the
Typically,
following
what
council?
I would suggest is that you would, if you're gonna do a month, then basically just follow the next council meeting. I mean, that's close enough, right? So then at that next council meeting,
Which we're into April.
where you're in April, and
Is it
so
the
now
29th?
that April, actually, no, lie, it's 2 weeks, so middle of April, right? Because we
If
just
you're-
said that.
The fourth Thursday.
Not for council.
Yeah, but we might as well just have a special meeting if we're gonna do a 2 weeks review, let's get it over with.
If we start the review on the 25th of March,
Mhm.
2 weeks from then
8th.
is going to be the 8th of April.
Yeah,
Well,
so
and
the
the
8th.
25th is a Friday. So,
Yeah, but everybody's on their own, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all do it on our own.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's not a,
So the 7th is the Thursday though, right?
yes.
So the 7th, so let's say the 7th, we're gonna have a meeting,
Mhm.
and at that meeting, that's when we will actually finish the rubric process.
I
What
cannot
happens
be at that
typically with the
meeting.
rubric process is that everyone scores, and then all our scores are put together, okay? Top score, bottom score is thrown
Thrown
out.
out.
The middle is averaged and weighted, and that is their score. Now, if you have things that are very, very close to one another, that's why you have the meeting, because then you're gonna have conversation, you know? If it's only 2 points apart, and, you know, somebody's got a good argument of why giving it one way versus the other, then that's what you have there.
But
But,
can
but
anybody-
it's only on very, very close things like that you even consider it.
But Greg, we need the rubric done before we all start reviewing them, because we're going to use the
We're
rubric
gonna have that on
on
the
review.
February 24th.
Okay, I want to make sure.
What I was saying is, all the scoring's done, right?
All the scoring's done, yes.
And you applied, and your score is 105.
Uh-huh.
I applied, and my score is 104.
So we're going to do a discussion.
Discussion,
Gotcha.
right.
So we should do the review for 13 days then instead of 2 weeks. Review from 3/25 to 7 April. And
I
then we
cannot
meet on
be, I
7
can't,
April,
7th
right?
and 8th, I won't be available.
You won't be available?
And
I'm
also, we gotta think about Charlie, he's not here.
No.
What about the 12th?
Well, I'm just gonna, I didn't know that we were gonna try and do 100%, because if we're gonna meet on the day that we said in February, I'm out of town that day for the rubric, and you and I are.
Right.
So, but, I mean, I'm okay with some people not being at some meetings.
Yeah, I mean, February 12th, is that okay?
You
I mean,
April
I'm sorry,
12th.
April 12th, sorry.
April 12th.
April 12th.
So April 12th, what are
That's
we
a
doing?
You
Tuesday.
can always change it.
But what is the decision we're making on April the 12th?
That is the actual awards. We will see the scores and award on the 12th.
I think,
I
how
think-
are you gonna do, I mean,
I
you're gonna
think it's
have
gonna, I think you
variances
need
of
more
money.
time. I don't,
You're gonna be asked also. And you're gonna come in here and this one scored a certain number and he asked for $250,000.
That's why
Correct.
we need to
Are you,
meet
you
before
know,
then.
There's
how do you
limits
determine
on all
whether you're
these,
gonna fund
though.
that for 250 or whether you're gonna fund?
There's
I think they're
limits.
all
At some
half.
point, we're gonna have a meeting and have that matrix in front of you.
So when are we gonna do that?
That's the 12th. That's what I'm saying, is the
That's
12th.
the 12th.
The 12th.
That's when you're deciding your award. You may not be giving the money out that day, but you are deciding the awards that day.
It's the award meeting, how's that?
Yeah,
The
the award
award
meeting.
meeting on
There
the
you go.
12th.
So that can be a long one.
It can be a
Wait.
very long one, or a very short one.
But I think the award meeting is the one we want to make sure that everybody
Everybody
goes
can
to.
attend.
Exactly. That's why I tried to move it to the
Everything else,
12th, because we know the
okay,
7th doesn't work, so.
Okay, wait, well, I need to look at the calendar, make sure.
Does
Sorry.
anybody know when the schools do their spring break? So we don't,
It's March
in March.
the 14th.
Okay, so we're not,
That's what I'll be here. So we're going to say the award meeting is on the 12th.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if they all do it the same week, but.
Nobody does it in April. Except Kentucky.
Will all this be posted on the website, because I'm sitting there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's all
What,
right.
can we like start earlier that day?
yes, please, like at 4.
Can we start earlier on the 12th?
I believe we should.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, or we'll be here all night.
If we start
I'm,
at
I'm even
4?
game for 3, it doesn't matter.
What's the
that's a
earliest?
Tuesday, do you know of anything scheduled? When do you
Not
have your
right offhand.
commissioners?
Commissioners are on Monday nights.
Monday nights?
And then the third Tuesday of the morning, so that's not gonna affect
So
them.
we would-
And it does, I mean, we never know if there's gonna be redevelopment or anything, that just,
Those
and
are
if
usually
you guys set
Wednesdays.
yours,
We
we'll
grab
just
it
kinda
and
let
it's
Chris
ours.
Around
know.
us, okay.
We can let Chris know that there's already a meeting scheduled that day.
So what time is the earliest everyone could come on that Tuesday?
8 o'clock in the morning, I'll be here.
1 o'clock.
3 a.m.?
I mean, we want to have where the public can attend, but at the same time, when does the courthouse kind of clean out?
Doesn't
4
matter.
4
o'clock?
o'clock,
4?
Yeah, I mean,
Four's
this
when we
room-
close.
This room is not
It's
utilized.
not yet, so we could go earlier than 4.
Doesn't matter to me.
I mean, if we want to start hashing through it, I mean,
Tara, you probably are the one that really has a job that you, I don't know if you can flex from or not.
Charlie works at school,
Charlie doesn't work at school.
Canton City
He
School.
works at Canton again, Canton
Oh, he
Schools
does?
again.
Yeah,
Canton
so I
City
hate to have
School.
it before 4.
Yeah.
So he'd probably be at
Mhm.
least at 3
At
o'clock.
least 3:30.
3 to 3:30
Give him
he
some
would be-
time, because he's gonna have to drive from Canton, we want to give him
Yeah.
time to drive.
So we're still looking around 4 then,
Hate for him to get his.
Or 3:30.
or 3:30?
3:30
4
or
o'clock.
4?
Just say 4 o'clock. Herd the
Okay.
cats, 4 o'clock.
Sounds good.
4 PM.
4 o'clock, April 12th.
4 o'clock.
That's the award time.
In reality, if we do it right, at the end of it, everybody kind of knows at that point what they're getting, what they're not getting, unless there's something we got to table, so.
Okay, if I've got this down, we're going to post these February the 15th. Emily's going to get them corrected prior to that. Start date's February the 15th also. Ending date's March 24th. The award's going to be April the 12th, and we're going to start our meeting at 4 p.m. On February the 24th, you're going to provide a rubric for our discussion and approval at the meeting. And what do we post that at, 6 o'clock or right after the council meeting?
6 o'clock's when we have been, and then hopefully it is at 6 if the council's done, and
Yeah, well,
otherwise it's just whenever it's done.
I'm sorry, but probably won't be if I'm there, so.
Randy, you forgot. Randy, I wasn't going to say that.
You were thinking it though, so.
I was going to suggest 6:30.
That we set the close date for applications for April 7th. You forgot that.
Close dates, I thought we were ending them on the 24th.
We are. We're ending them on the 24th, starting to review on the 25th.
Yes, but I'm talking about how long people have to put in their applications.
No, they're scoring.
Oh, us, yeah.
The scoring is, I would say, give us till April 8th. That's that.
April 8th.
2 weeks, that's 2 weeks.
So we begin on the 25th. This is our board doing this.
Yes. Review completed on April 8th. Meeting for awards on
Right.
April 12th.
Okay, and now the question, and I want you rubric people to think about it. If someone is affiliated, as you keep suggesting, Greg,
Yep.
there's 7 of us that's going to be reviewing them.
6. I'm not reviewing them either.
Any of them at all?
No.
Okay.
But I think anyone who's affiliated with an organization that applies or participates in writing a grant should not be scoring the grant.
Right.
And
So-
Greg, you're not gonna do any of them?
There are so many businesses that I work for, I'm afraid that it would be
Looks like a
ridiculous for me to
conflict.
score.
So here's my, for
Nonprofits as
instance,
well.
I'm on the board of the Community Foundation. If the Community Foundation asks for a grant, I don't believe that I should be allowed to score
The
that
same with
grant
me with
because
our
I'll be biased.
association. I'm not gonna.
Right.
If you want to do it that way, that's fine, and I would
And
I
so-
would participate on the ones that I can, but I think it will be very few.
We need to address that, how that's going to be weighted when fewer than 7 will be.
It's a weighted score across all of you.
Yeah, it won't make any
It
difference.
makes no difference, it really
Wouldn't make
doesn't.
no
So
difference.
the weighting of possibly 4 people.
Versus
will
five. Doesn't make any
rate just-
difference.
So you're just going to go with that?
No, the math works out either way.
And I would
And
say.
we've done that many times with even scholarships where there is, some conflicts and we know that, so we move them around, so, yeah.
And Greg, I would say any that you can score, go ahead and score.
I'm okay with that if the board's okay with that, but I offer up that I don't do any if that's okay, but if.
Well, we have to
either way.
self-disclose, right? I mean, we'll look
Yeah.
at them and.
I think
determine-
probably on the, if we're gonna do that, if you're gonna have me score any or anybody score any, I think on the 24th when we meet, we need to have a form prepared by Chris Goffnet. That is a disclosure form. And so we will look at who has applied on the 24th, and we will disclose any affiliation with any of them that we have,
And that would be for February 24th.
24th. As far as small business, I still will not do any because there may be someone that says, hey, I got this grant money, do you want to do computer stuff or whatever? So I will
Oh,
avoid that
yeah.
one completely.
That makes sense.
But
by the
nonprofit, mental health,
24th, we won't have all the
I'll just see if I'm associated with
They'll
them or
either be
not.
in or they won't get in. That's the end of it.
The other thing
No, March.
I think we should,
Yeah, that's-
I
Is
want to
he talk-
recommend is a formal award notification, whether it could be like through their email, so they, and with next steps on when they can expect payment, or we need to have some kind of, typically, when you get awarded a grant, you get that information
So
from them.
perhaps at the next meeting, we could work on that, 'cause that,
Mhm.
I think that's really
I
important.
think that's what I would do.
Yeah.
We have to do that, but we got to determine how we're going to handle it, whether we're going to take it into the government,
Right.
then who's going to be issuing the checks, whether we want to try to find a third party.
That's right.
It's kind of
That's right.
dependent on what that
Yeah.
is.
We don't have a small night on the 24th coming up. We have some discussions to make, that's for sure.
Mhm.
But we'll go back real quick, what else did you say on the 20th?
We're getting the 24th here between March and February, so let's clarify.
Sorry.
February.
March 24th, February 24th, we had some big discussions when it comes to these things.
But we would not yet be ready to do the thing with Christoph and it to disclose because we wouldn't yet know
March 24th would be the disclosure form, because then you know everyone's in.
all that.
It's closed, it's done, everybody's filled it out, right?
Right.
So I'm going to ask on February 24th, if I call in, am I allowed to vote? I know COVID has
Teresa, do you
changed some
know?
of these rules.
They used to be you could not vote if you called in, but I think they might have
with
changed
COVID,
that.
it may have
It all
changed
depends
because of COVID.
on, it depends on the participation, who's in person.
So the commissioners,
Who's in person? Huh?
so the commissioners have put in an ordinance, or not an ordinance, but a resolution, I believe. Was it an ordinance or resolution?
It came through the state. What it
But
is.
we've had to make our
As long as
own.
there's a certain percentage in person,
Mm-hmm.
you can vote
Yep.
by phone, but then the vote has to be a roll call vote.
Yep.
Careful,
Okay.
it's not by phone. You have to be visually seen.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be seen, that's right.
So it has to be Zoom or something else, but you
So
have
you
visuals.
can,
On
Sure,
the
sure,
phone.
on the
I
phone, but
could
you have to be visually
FaceTime.
seen.
I could
Visually
FaceTime one
yes.
of you and could
Yes.
pull it up.
yeah,
Just not a phone call.
I'm sorry, I have to see my first grandbaby.
Absolutely.
that's important.
I don't believe
It's
it.
important.
With that said, for us to do that, we have to adopt what the commissioners wrote. So I motion that we adopt the same resolution ordinance that the commissioners wrote for this committee.
Yep.
Do I have a
Which is
second?
state.
I will second it.
Now,
Okay.
should we do that after we get this formal thing for review, before we just accept what it is, and do it on the 24th?
What are you talking about? No, we're just talking about voting procedures.
I know, but is this some kind of a formal document that we need to
That's-
have?
So it's not
That's-
going to do any good because the next meeting is the 24th.
And then you're done, that's right, okay.
That's not going to
Gotcha.
do good if we wait.
I would hope that you could trust us well enough on that
I'll
one.
Trust, yeah.
I can
I'm
look
just-
it up and get it out to
We
you.
literally pulled it from, like Sean said, we literally pulled it from the state and kind of.
I'll pull the document up and send it out to the committee.
Yeah.
Which is what we did with Indiana 15.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, so we got a motion to adopt whatever,
I second.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Of course I
and
second.
we'll fill in the wording later. I like that, yeah.
He made the motion already.
Dan's got us, Dan's got us.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion?
God, I hope not.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0. Okay, let's go through just for mine and Pam. The 24th, what do we accomplish?
February 24th.
Okay, what are we going to accomplish at that meeting? We're going to review the rubric?
Rubric?
Mm-hmm.
Any homework that's been done about giving it to the county?
As far as the county's concerned. I don't,
Reporting, yeah.
Final rule homework.
Final rule homework, there you
And that's going to
go.
be at 6 PM following the council meeting? Is that what your time
6:30.
set is?
6:30 following the council
Yeah.
meeting?
6:30?
Yeah.
Oy.
what else did you bring up, Greg? That Sherry was going to vote on remotely?
Oh, can I just FaceTime you then for that?
Mhm, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think there was anything else in that one, was
Just
there?
those two items is all we're doing on the 24th?
As far as I know.
What about the workshop?
When do you want to
Yeah,
hold
we
it?
need to fit that in that timeline.
Didn't we decide to put that in the timeline on the 24th?
No, that'll be,
That's when we was gonna.
we're having a meeting. Now, I think Tara's talking about having.
We're going live next week, so if there's a time next
Okay.
week that we can have it.
And I
Can-
need to remind, if you're talking about documents on the website for review, you're talking about the county webpage?
No.
The ARP committee, is that correct? Or what website are you talking about?
No, for us to review, we have a Google Docs that we put all of our info on to review.
I thought you were talking about documents for the public to review.
The
That'd be
guide,
the applications.
The application guide?
Yeah.
And the
application guide.
applications, well, we'll have the link to the application.
so
on
there's a
there.
fact sheet and there's a guide,
Yeah.
right, that you have?
I need to send the fact
Fact sheet
sheet.
and
Just
guide.
be aware, somebody work with me on.
Tara's, yeah, Tara's got it down.
What email you want used,
Yep.
or that I need to change.
Okay, now the question came up here about the workshop to kind of explain what needs to be done for an application. Do you want to include that with the 24th of February?
Mm,
So do you
no.
want to have it at another time?
I-
And if so, when?
Needs to be earlier.
I think if we're gonna open it on the 15th,
We need it sooner than
can
later.
we have it next week sometime? I
The
know that's really a lot
February
of meetings,
18th.
but
February 18th, I'm wide open.
the 18th is a
Mhm.
Friday, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed, I'm just saying.
I mean, I can't Thursday. Wednesday, oh, I could Wednesday, the 16th.
Okay.
And you want it in the evening, I guess, maybe?
Well,
Is
that
that
is the
sufficient
same
time?
time as the Tell City has, and Kelly may know this, but the mayor
Oh, that's
has on
theirs.
his
Oh.
calendar
Yeah, they have
an
theirs.
They have their
ARC.
listening thing.
Yeah. What time is your listening, your public forum?
5 to 7.
Ooh.
Is it like a meeting or is it a drop-in?
It's just like what you guys did.
Okay, so it's a meeting.
Okay.
It's like a town hall then, almost.
I'm just letting you guys know I'm gonna be gone from the 16th to the 26th on grandbaby duty.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, just please go ahead without me, but.
So the 15th, I could fit the 15th, the day it opens.
The day of a release?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you want to have them, give them the opportunity to review it prior to you having this
True,
meeting?
yeah.
I
so
think
that
you
they
can
come
wait
in
a
with
week.
question?
I would give it a week.
Because
Let
a
people
lot
have
of it's
time to
pretty
open it up,
straightforward.
Try it out.
So I don't, maybe
22nd?
into the next week would be fine for those who have a question or two.
So President's Day is Monday, are you guys
We're
closed?
closed.
Okay, so we can't on the 21st.
22nd?
Say it louder. Greg keeps saying the 22nd.
I say that, but I know I can't be here. The week of the 21st, I'm gonna be probably out.
And see if you're at
and
the
the
22nd,
18th
the
is a
24th,
Friday.
when you're going to have a meeting.
No, I'll be here for that.
No, but I'm just saying you're 2 days away from it.
Oh, I see.
So you may as well do the 24th? No. It's gonna be a long meeting.
I'm-
You should have suggested that, Randy. I'm
What?
just kidding.
I got, like,
It's another one of those things that who knows whether it's going to be one person or 100.
well, that's what I'm thinking. Could we not do like double duty, like you guys are in here having the council meeting and maybe a couple of us come early and just like
That's a good idea.
answer questions?
Do we have
That's
a
a
room for
good
them to
idea.
do that in? Where they could, in other words, if a couple of them would just, it would not be formal. They would just
On
meet
what day?
on the 24th, the same day, while we're having our council meeting. They could go over in a separate area and answer any questions of anyone.
Have it at the
I'm-
annex.
Do what?
Have it at the annex.
But could you have it in the back room, Pam?
Yeah, I'll have stuff spread out, but I can clean it up. You guys can use my bathroom.
Oh, you forgot that. I forgot the conference room back there, the
Yeah.
little room.
I'll clean it up because I'm gonna have my annual report all spread out, but I'll clean it
Well,
up.
Just
not
for
so
the
much,
public to
I
come
mean,
ask
I mean,
questions.
you may have a lot of people.
Yeah, I know, that's,
You're gonna have a bunch, you go with a third.
That's the only risk.
For a workshop, people don't have questions there.
Yep. The Legion's not here, the two of the other groups I know. the whole
You
ball
want
game.
it live streamed.
I was like that.
You want it where people can watch it later.
But how are you
Honest-
gonna do that as far as questions? Unless you're gonna have them without just a couple of
So,
people.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in this. Would a workshop on a Saturday may be better for people because they don't have to leave their business during the week? Just to throw in, I'm just saying if it's a no, say no. It's-
You're asking a lot.
But do we need to be here for like a workshop?
I wouldn't think.
No.
I
I don't
mean, you
think
don't
so
need
either.
that live streamed or
It's
I don't need
not-
to take minutes for
Why
a
would you
workshop,
do-
right?
We would not.
I mean, that's not
You don't
anything
need to
that I
come.
don't.
It's helpful, but you guys spend too much time here already.
Well, I'm gonna be working Saturdays anyway in February, but I got other things I need to do.
No, I mean, this is just to answer questions. I
Right.
wouldn't think. I'm just throwing it out there. It's, whatever
Could
the
we,
group thinks.
could we do some open, like, try out the 24th and then see if there's a ton
What about
of,
during the day? I mean, is there an issue with doing it in
Yeah.
the evenings? If it's just a few of you,
If-
you want to do it during the day?
If you're not gonna live stream it or anything, I suggest you do the 24th. You start it at like 5:30 or something, or our meeting's at 6:30, so start at like 5 o'clock out the annex. See how many people show up. There's enough room out there that 20, 30 people could sit in the annex, to tell you the truth.
to check on that date too.
Yeah, you gotta check with,
They have a
you
lot
gotta
of
check
things
with Steve
going on
Hauser,
there.
because with all his meetings that he had,
Do
make
we
sure it's
really
open.
think we're gonna have that many people show up?
I'm just saying, I know that you could have the capacity
Is
out
this a
there.
walkthrough of the application and?
Yeah,
Question, you
There's
know.
no way to just make a video of it?
Right, that's what I-
And
it's-
say, "Here's what's on
Instead of
YouTube,
answering
here's
the
a
same
walkthrough."
question over and over and over.
Genius.
Tara put up on the application, Kelly, where it's got little boxes that pretty much explains what we're thinking, asking them. So it's pretty straightforward.
If-
I mean, it's not.
That was just a suggestion. I mean, if you think everybody can understand what those boxes are, minus the 1 gram.
I think we'll be,
You may have some problems. I think it needs to go face to face.
What if
Okay.
you see what questions you have come in, since you're having them flow through Emily, and see if you're getting a lot of questions? And then
Yeah,
they can
we'll
go
base
from
it off
there.
of that.
That's a good idea.
Base it on what kind of questions you're getting
I
to
think
see,
that
is
we
it
need
gonna
to give,
warrant?
I would rather give people time
Right,
to
is it
look
gonna
at it,
warrant
start to
be-
fill it out.
Yes,
And maybe they could be
See what
answered
they
just
have.
through email.
Yeah.
right, see what kind of
Yeah.
questions
As
they
a-
have to see if it's gonna warrant.
That would be
you wouldn't-
fine. That would be fine.
let's do that.
I'm not doing a Saturday. I
Let's do
just
that.
can't.
Yeah, well, we all got so many commitments.
Okay, so
I
we're gonna leave
can't.
that off, the workshop off for the time being.
Yeah,
So again, we're back doing two things, rubric and the county government accepting the funds is the only thing we're doing on the 24th, correct?
Unless that first week,
It all
Emily says,
collapses.
I'm
Yeah.
having
We'll add
10
something to it.
emails a day, and then we can do something.
Then the 24th, that's the last day. At that meeting, what are we gonna do? At that time, we're gonna go through this form that Chris Goffnet will have put together, and we will all sign a disclaimer on any kind of impacted applicants.
Greg, you're handling that for Chris?
Sure.
Okay, sounds good.
And that's on March 24th,
That's
right?
on March 24th. Everybody will have applied by then. We'll meet, we'll know who's there. We haven't used the rubric yet, but we'll know who they are and if there's any conflicts. And then what else are we accomplishing at that? Nothing?
The 2 weeks following the 24th, you're doing your review period, right?
Yes.
Following February 24th, yes.
Yes.
Oh, you're talking.
No, I'm sorry, March.
March 25th, we're
24th to
starting.
April.
To April 8th.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just talking now about what they're gonna do at each of these meetings.
February and March should not be allowed to have the same days. It just drives me.
And
Every
then,
4 years they don't.
Yeah, every 4 years.
So,
So
Randy,
do you meet on
would you
March
send this
24th?
timeline out to everyone when you get it organized?
So, yeah, are we meeting
Some-
on the 24th?
I was gonna say.
We
when
don't,
do
when
we're not
is-
meeting on the 24th,
When does the
right?
Yes, we are.
application?
February 24th and March 24th.
March.
February and March.
we're meeting both of them.
And what are we doing on the 24th in our in-person meeting?
That's we review who actually put in applications and we fill out our disclaimer forms.
Okay.
Right, our non-disclosure forms.
But I don't, that's it, right? And then we'll all start the review process. And we have our period up until April the 8th, and on the 12th, we're gonna get together and
So are
award
you,
and argue about it
Is
and
that a
move
6:30
on.
PM?
Which one?
On March 24th, is that a 6:30 PM?
Probably.
also then?
Yeah.
Meeting,
Yep.
since it follows the council?
You guys
Yes.
could, that way you could do your review process, if nothing else, talk amongst yourself to make sure you know what you're doing as far as your review process that night, since you're gonna have your applications in,
Is the February 24th meeting at 6 or 6:30?
6:30.
In March at 6:30. And the other one is, the other meeting is at 4 PM.
April 12th.
Yes.
That's the award meeting, is
Yes.
April 12th.
And that's at what time?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. And we have a timeline for our requirements in between there. And then if Emily gets an overwhelming group of questions, and Tara does also, we may have to schedule something in the way of a work session.
And hopefully a wrench don't come in that Emily has her baby early. Otherwise, your timeline might be all messed up.
For this.
Well,
I'm a
somebody
little
needs to give it to her
confused.
so she can schedule around it.
So it opens on the 15th.
So,
This is pending.
did we have a motion on
It
these
closes
times?
on
Or
No.
I think we should.
March 24th.
Absolutely.
In a
Okay.
second.
I make a motion to accept
And we
the
announce the
timelines that
awards
Randy just
on
went
the
through and
12th.
presented
The
to us all.
review is going to be from
I second.
the 24th to April.
Who seconded?
April 7th.
Greg.
And then we make
Okay.
the announcements on the 12th.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
On the timeline.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Public comment, so we can go home. The public's been commenting, but that's more.
I just had a question about what you were asking, because I don't guess I understand the rubric. You say, everybody votes or whatever and scores, but if somebody asks for 100,000, do you just give them 100,000, or, I mean?
We have limits.
That's what we'll do at the award meeting.
Yeah.
The rubric just determines who's going to get awarded money.
We've got limits on each application of the amount that can be requested.
I guess my question is, you'll just go one by one, but what if you get toward the end and then you're totally out? And
No, no, no. Well, what the matrix will be is there'll be a total that we can give out, and we'll actually go with the highest score and start going down. And then we'll see as we get to, that's where you get into that discussion point. You get to that last little bit of money, and one's 104, one's 105, which way do you go,
Well,
right?
Right.
I mean,
Yes,
that's,
that's
Greg,
how
one of
that's
the,
normally
one of the
done.
factors too is that we have a question in there that states if
Take
they will
less.
accept less.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So is that going to be factored into this rubric? I think
Well,
it
it will be
should.
factored into when we get into that pinch point of whether we
Yeah.
can have
Into the
enough money.
discussion.
Okay,
Yeah. So that's why that one starts at 4 o'clock,
yeah.
because that could take a
Yeah,
while.
it will take a while.
So we can go ahead and make that question, say, we all, or we turn in 20,000, and all of a sudden this is done, we said, okay, we'll take 10. That would be that, towards that, and that, answering that question?
If
say
you
that-
ask for 20,000, there's going to be a question, or whatever you ask for. Are you willing to accept less than the total
Right,
amount?
and y'all, and then we end up with 10.
Right.
Or do we need to write down 10?
I mean, if you say, no, this is all we need, then that's something we need to know. If you're saying, okay,
Yeah, everyone should answer.
the least amount is 18,000, then if you list 18, because what I put on here, we're gonna get, if we get more requests than the amount of money that we have, we need to know what you would settle for.
Yeah.
That you didn't answer the
And,
question.
and if your project, see, requires $20,000,
Yeah.
and we can't fund you for $20,000, and it just won't work for you without $20,000, we need to be
know that.
made aware of
Then-
that.
Then you
So
say,
that,
no, I
you know,
won't accept
I cannot
less.
accept any less than that.
Because if we've got certain things where we have to really, more or less, we gotta.
You have to have it.
Yeah, we gotta
In
have
order to
this
carry
on.
out whatever this is,
Yep.
you
won't be
must have
successful.
a minimum of it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And that may hurt you, that may help you. We can't tell you until we start going through the applications.
That's what we have to have.
Yeah,
And there's probably narrative that he can enter some of that.
there is.
information.
Yes.
Sure.
There is.
Right.
I think the more you keep us informed, the better off you'll be,
Absolutely.
you know, with whatever the description is. So,
On the 24th, me and Sherry will bring in a matrix, a sample matrix. so
Well,
that
Greg
you can-
will. I'll be in
I'll bring in a sample
Omaha. I'll be in
matrix.
Omaha.
I'll
with
bring in a
grandbaby.
sample matrix for you to see, so that you can decide on it.
Any other comments?
So this is small business, not for profit. I mean,
2 not-for-profits, 1
I'll be
small
on the phone
business.
So not like if the city of Tell City wanted some help for a project, or Pendleton wanted help for a project, or Troy, or what are they? I don't know what.
Non-for-profit,
Yeah.
You're not-profit. Mhm.
yes.
They're considered a
So they're
nonprofit.
under one of them.
Yes.
Okay.
And they could probably be under either class, depending on what the project was. I mean,
All government entities are 501c3s.
Do you want me to send that calendar?
Logan.
I've got a few questions right now, but I want to ask again for further clarification. You've got a bucket of applications, and you get down, and let's say there's 10 left, and you've already exhausted your funding, then you're going to go back through and kind of balance that funding over?
No,
No.
no.
So if it's out, it's out.
When it's out, it's out. But there'll be a round 2. The people who
Okay.
didn't get funded can reapply for round 2.
Right.
Okay. So that gets me to the second question, which is you had mentioned the revolving loan fund. That might be considered for the round 2 bucket that comes in. Is
Yeah,
what
that,
you were talking about?
yeah, and I don't want to say that it is a round 2 or isn't a round 2, because that really wasn't voted on, but we assume that there's going to be a round 2.
Sure.
I mean, it's a pretty good assumption that it's going to be round 2. But the question is, how much? We don't, I mean, if, we may put $500,000 in revolving loan, and then there's only $700,000 or whatever left over for grants, but, you know,
But that process was even suggested only exclusively for if there's a round two. It wasn't.
There will be a
a
round
part of
two.
it.
There'll be a round two of some sort, but I'm just saying,
We just don't
there
know.
may be a granting cycle, may not be. I don't want to tie our hands at this point unless you want to vote on that now.
I
But-
think until we find out more on the final rule, do our homework and,
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's why
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to tie our hands now and say
Mhm.
publicly that there's going to be a
Sure.
round two of granting, because we don't know that for sure.
See an ambiguity with the council after you put the money in their pocket. We really don't want that. So it's something to consider. I mean, really.
Well, this
Because it-
council won't dissolve after this. This committee won't dissolve
I'm talking
after
about
this.
if you choose to transfer it as a government loss, 100% into the general fund.
Doesn't give them the right to spend it if we don't say what it's for yet. We
But
have
you're
4
saying-
years to do
When you
that.
talk about granting, though, you're saying, like, letting people apply or us just making decisions, right?
What's that? Sorry.
You
Got
don't want to
distracted.
tie us into a second round of granting, like opening it up to the public, as
Yes.
opposed to us just
Right.
looking.
Yeah, I
at
just don't want to
what
tie our
that
hands with a
and-
public statement at this point that there will be a second granting cycle. I didn't say that there's not going to be. I'm
Are you
just saying-
thinking this might blow up and we may not want to do it again?
No, I'm saying that there may be an opportunity that comes up for matching funds. There may be a revolving loan
but
that's
we also
better.
talked
There may
about the
be all
second
kinds of
tranche
things. I don't wanna
being
tie our
for
hands.
infrastructure.
Opportunity is there. Let's make sure we use the best of it.
Okay. Quick, I don't mean to go off the wall.
No, no.
If I had some issues, if we've got a little issue, is it, can I come to Teresa and get a hard copy of the application and everything, and then, because I'm a little old school when it comes to that kind of stuff and everything, and
I think we
There
can
will
supply
be
some.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the guide,
one,
right?
way I
Yeah.
get copies, and I can.
Can you download those from the foundation
Yeah, but
website?
in that guide that Tara created,
There's a copy of
there
mine.
is a copy of
That
that.
is a copy, yeah.
All
But
you need
you'd
to do is
still
print it
have
out.
to input it electronically, but you
Yes.
have a paper
Paper
copy that
visually
copy,
see
is
it.
the
yeah,
guide.
the
I
paper
would like
copy.
to get the paper copy. I come and get one from you.
Once you get that finalized,
I mean, if it's all finalized, then I
then I'll
can.
have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
not finalized yet,
Yeah.
so.
So we'll just, we just gotta wait till.
I can't, I mean, until we get Emily to make those changes and I put those back in there.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it's not an editable PDF, is it?
No, I don't think so.
A printer, white.
It won't take Emily very long.
White that thing.
Okay.
She'll get it
Yeah.
done quickly.
I'll just have to
There's
put
not that
all
many.
those boxes.
There's very few
Put it
changes.
out there.
You know what I mean?
Another example of what I was talking about for not tying our hands is the RDC's already come to us for some money, and there's a question there, right? So, I mean, there's different
Who's
things.
came for money?
RDC, Redevelopment Corporation. John Shear came
Yeah.
specifically and asked for potential money from the ARP. I'm not saying we're gonna give him the money, I'm just saying, there's a lot of different things out there, so.
And see,
Don't tie your
from what I
hands.
read, of course, again, when you switch to the government, you take some of these restrictions away. I'm reading this correctly, so.
Yeah. But that's a double-edged sword.
I
Ken.
know exactly where
That's a
you're going,
double-edged
Gregory.
sword right there.
Does everybody have the PowerPoint from NACO on the final rule?
Mhm.
Okay. There's some good information in
A little bit
there.
more, she's gone off.
What were you just talking about, switching government, what was that last discussion back and
Oh,
forth?
that won't,
It all has to do with the accounting process, as far as how they came with another ruling that said, that said any government entity that's awarded these funds can say up to $10 million can be determined to be lost revenue. If that's done, we were awarded like 3.7 million. The county could just transfer it into the general fund. See?
No, I don't think it can go into the, it would
Not
have
the
to
general
go.
fund,
No,
it's just another.
it would have to be
ARP.
It's
ARP.
cut, but it can be kind of spent like you would.
Like a
Right.
general
It
fund.
still stays in its own fund.
Mhm.
But it becomes then a government funds, it actually is government funds from the federal government, but
It is.
it can be treated that way.
But it has to be approved by the council.
The way the topic is this, and it boils down to this. By putting it in the separate bucket, it's now under council control and council vote. That's it. That's what happens. Right now.
It doesn't affect an applicant, if
Right,
that's what you're asking.
Right now, it's got 3 votes. It's got this committee's vote, it's got the commissioner's vote, and it's got the council's vote. By putting it into that bucket, you get rid of some auditing and some headaches around accounting and that kind of stuff. But you also get rid of all those checks and balances except for the council. And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing, I'm just saying that's why we asked for the resolution, to make sure that they would still include us in those decisions.
Right,
That's the
but-
only difference. It
but
doesn't affect your process whatsoever.
Ultimately, it always it's gonna have to have council approval, ultimately, no matter.
But you're
what
shaving
route.
2 other approvals off. You're shaving 2 other approvals off by doing that. It's no longer approved by me and you or Randy, and it's no longer approved by this committee necessarily.
Right, but right now, there's no law that says this committee has to approve it now.
No, but we've made a resolution to abide by it. That's all
Right.
I'm asking from the council.
Right, yeah.
I'm just asking for the same assurance.
This committee has no statutory.
No.
Mm-mm.
But
We
I'm
just make
asking for a
recommendations.
resolution from the council to have the same assurance that the commissioners gave.
Yeah.
And I'm in agreement. I mean,
It's complicated, Tom.
We can make it simple. Yeah.
Then, Greg, I'm looking for a motion to close the meeting.
We did.
I make a motion with adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
But it
Right
is.
here.
Go back and read that again.
I know.
Don't leave yet.
Fact that-
Hey,